Hey, we're live. Some rare Google Plus, YouTube Live glitches tonight. Welcome. Good to have you with us on this Google Plus week for May 23rd. Please comment. We will read them and troll you. No, I'm just kidding. We will put your comments up on the show. So good to have you with us on this. It was a beautiful Friday here on the East Coast. And our panel tonight is, let's see here. We have, all right, cool. We have my buddy Stephen Haywood. Welcome, Stephen. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you sound good. Look good. I see
Okay,
you
good.
got multiple Android, multiple generations of Android figures behind you. I think he ate. I think you ate the latest version though. I
Yes.
don't see that one there. So I ate the big one and the little one and all the ones, and I have none either. Pam Adger joins us in Menifee, California. Welcome, Pam. Hello.
Sorry, I was muted.
She's doing the royal wave. Um,
Doing the royal wave, yes. Hi,
befitting
everyone.
Pam.
Yeah,
Um,
since I'm the one that screwed everyone up tonight, so I don't think I'm done.
it's okay. It was. It couldn't have been Google's fault. It was Pam's fault. Joining us from the Ukraine. Just kidding. Joining us from the beautiful Kirkland, Washington, Mr. Oleg Moskalinsky. Welcome, Oleg, with your two beautiful
Hello,
kids
hello.
behind
Thank
you.
you.
Harold Carey joins us from
Hello.
Idaho. Welcome, sir. Good to have you with us. And already grouchy even before the show started. Alan Furstenberg is here. You're in Boston tonight, right? Or somewhere? He's somewhere.
Yes, I'm in Boston tonight.
Welcome, sir. Okay, so our first story is photos. Um, my favorite topic. So there were some enhancements there, and then there was this really cool thing that's a great concept, but it's got some glitches. So let's start with photos. Go ahead and tell us what was tweaked or enhanced or introduced this week, sir.
So the changes that they added this round are supposed to make it a little bit easier to find photos, to manage them, to download them. And some of these are nice capabilities. So in the first one, you can find old photos that you've just uploaded with the recently added view. So now if you go into the photo albums, you can select more, and one of the options that you'll have under there is recently added. So what happens there is the photos will get sorted by upload date rather than the date that the photo was taken. So you can easily find when you've added a new one. This is nifty, but this is hardly photo management. They need, if they're going to do photo management, they should, do something real. Next is you can, this is, I've got to wonder where this one came from. Previously, you've been able to see what camera a particular photo was taken under. So, for example, if you're shooting photos with your Nexus 5, it will say Nexus 5. If you're shooting photos with glass, it'll say Glass 1 if you look at the photo details. Now you can actually click on that, and it will show you all of the other photos that were taken by that model camera that you have.
So it's an
This is
absolute
clever.
Flickr copy, that feature. But that's a neat
Did
feature
Flickr do
because
that?
that's how we verified that there was a Nexus 10 because Vic Dotra was uploading pictures and it said Nexus 10. That's how we knew that there was a Nexus 10 coming out.
Well, yeah, and
Flickr's done that
you've
for
always been
years.
you've always been able to see it. This is the first chance that you can now click on it and see all of the photos that were taken by that you have. This is clever, but this is not photo management. This is a gimmick. And finally, one of the things that we've talked about in the past is how when you upload photos, Google stores the originals. So that if you're uploading using the raw camera format, which we've discussed in the past, this is a very information-rich, usually high-resolution version of of your image from major manufacturers will put this out in what's called a raw format. Previously, you've been able to upload it, but whenever you downloaded it, you always downloaded the processed version. Now, what gets downloaded, or now you'll have the option to download the original. So that's nice that they're storing the original for you. This makes it a lot more like a real backup.
Do you typically shoot in RAW or JPEG?
When
Not
I'm
if you're-
using my
I mean, if-
DSLR, I shoot in RAW. There's no reason to use something crappy like JPEG. Nobody in their right mind shoots in JPEG. And yes, I'm talking to you, Dad.
I've shot in all. I mean, I've shot RAW, I've shot JPEG, I've shot in many cameras have a setting for both, for convenience. If you
Yeah,
got to
you
email
know,
something
shooting
off, or if you want to upload
shooting
it
in RAW
quickly.
plus JPEG is fine, but don't actually use the JPEGs for anything.
The beauty of
If-
RAW is you have much more control to edit stuff in post. Like I was doing a food shoot, and I was using incandescent lighting. I was shooting, plates of food for a restaurant for a newspaper ad, and for their website. And I brought in this big white box light, and the white balance was off, and everything had a yellowish tinge. So I was able to easily go back in there. Luckily, it was on a white paper plate, and so I was able to just eyedrop that and fix it in post. And those things happen. You get more control and better results dealing with RAW, even if the final version is going to be exported to something you can email like a JPEG file. And I think it is handy to be able to search by camera. That's a neat feature that's popular on Flickr. It's popular for two reasons. If you're considering buying a camera and you're looking for examples of that camera, of what it really looks like in the wild, then you can search for photos that were taken with it. Same thing with the lens. On Flickr, I think you can search on several of the fields what's called the EXIF data.
Dan,
Am I
that's
getting-
not what this does, though. It doesn't search for other people using this camera. It searches for your photos using this camera.
Oh,
So you'll be able to easily see which photos you took with your Nexus 5, and which ones you took with your DSLR, and which ones you took with glass. And honestly, I mean, I can see some. It's not like this is a useless feature, but this is not photo management.
No, I
If
think
they
it would
want to
be
give us
neater
photo
if you
management,
could.
give us a real freaking tool.
Yeah, I think it would be neater if I was looking and I see that you had uploaded if I'm thinking about buying the A7R, one of the newer Sony cameras,
Yeah.
and I could do a global search. If I found a really nice picture from Craig Ship or Vic Gendocha or somebody who has the A7R, and I could click on that field, and it would show me photos, probably based on relevance and then general popularity, contextual relevance to me, people I know, and then just general popularity. That would be very helpful to get an idea of what the camera was like, and also to find other people who have the camera who I might want to reach out to say, do you like this camera? Same thing with the lens. On Flickr, you can do it with the lens. Like, oh, this is the Canon 70 to 200 2.8 stabilized lens. I'm thinking about buying this. It's $2,000. I can click on this and find all the photos out there and that's a pretty darn good review process. Of course, that doesn't happen, so maybe they'll do that in the future.
I thought that's what this enhancement did do, but apparently not.
Yeah, apparently it's only internal with your own stuff.
From what I'm reading, and I haven't played with it sufficiently, but from what they said, from what Google said, all this does is searches your own photos.
I must have read an unofficial source then, because I think I read pretty clearly that it would show me other people's pictures who had used the same equipment.
No, I'm just using it right now and just did this, and this came up. It basically you just click on it and it shows all the pictures you've taken with that camera.
But just you, right, Harold?
That's just me. Yes, it's me.
You have some great photos, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. And the next one, the next feature, you'll see at the top corner, it says I have 39,000 photos. Isn't that one of the things that was in this article?
No,
You
it wasn't
have a
listed.
lot of
but
photos?
That wasn't listed, but tell us about it, Harold.
Well, one of the things on the 9 items, what it says, you can have a lot of photos. What's one
No,
of the
not the
9
9.
items?
That's
Yeah.
that's not the 9. We're not talking about the 9 items one because some
okay.
of those are mobile only, and those we're
Okay.
saving for Monday night show.
Yeah, so up on the top here it says that I have 39,048 photos on Google Plus that I've uploaded.
That I believe.
Well,
Most of them with red sand in the background. So if I, yeah, there's no, I can't see. Yeah, I'm looking here at your photos. It would be neat if I click on photo details. It'd be neat if I could click Nikon D70 and click on, see Harold's or see
okay.
everyone's
Let-
thing.
Let me cut this short though. It would be neat. That right there tells you the fact that A, this feature shouldn't have been done in the first place, and B, even if they expand it, it's a big so what.
Yeah,
We are
that
in
would be a neat
desperate-
feature on top of a
desperate-
full management thing,
Right.
which is that they really should be concentrating on first before, we don't need the,
We are in desperate need of some real photo management system, and Google could do it. They could do a kick-ass photo management system, but
Yeah.
instead we're getting piddling like this
but this is the
that
same.
will pretend to be a photo
Yes.
management system.
The same argument I made last week, saying I'm sick of them adding these ridiculous little things when we're desperate for things that we've been desperate for years.
I love the auto backup feature. That is awesome. But then
Auto
you
backup is
can't do
brilliant.
anything with, then you've still got to upload them to Flickr or some other service to actually be able to manage your photos correctly.
But even Flickr, none of these services are doing real photo management.
Flickr's pretty darn good. It's not like if you're,
Alan, in your estimation, what's the real photo management? If nobody's doing it, what's the real one?
Real photo management would let me do things, as it would do auto tagging. It would do auto tagging based on a wide variety of criteria. I know Flickr does tagging because somebody who's usually on the show tells me that every freaking week.
but their photo quality
but
sucks,
then-
so obviously that's not a
but then-
solution.
But then it takes it one step further. So not just, things are tagged, but once things are tagged, you can order them, you can regroup them, you can manage them in different ways. You can go tag a bunch of them easily and quickly and then forward them off to other processing.
Okay, what is
So
that?
it's-
What are the programs? There's two. One is geared toward most of your professional photographers use it, and there's another one that is geared more toward guys like me who are journalists who might want to watermark something. There's
No, but
similar.
Right,
this,
and I-
this is the thing that you guys
Totally
are not.
blanking on both of them.
This is the thing that you guys are not bringing up. First of all, you're talking about completely different audiences. Dan throws around, camera for $2,000. How many normal people buy cameras for $2,000?
No, Oleg, let me cut you off there, and I'm not talking about two different audiences. And this is part of my point, and part of why I think Google has the right positioning on this, is that when you start bulk uploading photos, which is what people are doing now with auto backup,
Mhm.
you've got a photo management problem. So when you say, I want to go find my pictures from Disney World, you need an easy way to do that. And whether that's by saying, show me my pictures from Disney World, or whether that's saying, show me my pictures from this date range and let me easily go through them and do something with them. Google isn't doing that right now. Nobody is doing that right now.
Well, Dan?
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't-
we do have. Remember they did introduce this deal with search, where you can actually search for snow without tagging photos, and it'll come up with snow.
Right, and that's a good start, and that's why I say that Google is, ahead of everybody else. So it will let you do things, yes, you can search for snow, yes, you can search for the Eiffel Tower, and it does a reasonably good job at both of those things. But it won't let me, for example, let me search for my 5-year-old son by name because I'm not allowed to tag him. It won't let me search for my aunt by name because she's not on Google Plus and I can't tag her. It won't let me do searches for my house or my backyard because although it knows, widely popular things, it doesn't know things that are necessarily important to me.
Couldn't you set up albums with the names, like your aunt's name and
Nope,
son's
too,
name?
set up albums, too late. Not good enough.
Well,
And that's part of the problem.
Go ahead,
that would
Harold.
require me to personally start putting things in that album.
Right.
Harold?
And
Yeah, one of the things I want to point out, what I have up on the screen here is that stories feature, and what Dan was talking about.
We'll get to-
stories
we'll
feature
get to
does
stories
this.
next.
I know,
Harold-
but I'm talking about what you were talking about, the naming. If you'll notice here, it says New Mexico and Utah. It says Shiprock. I did not type that in anywhere. Google found this thing and put in the words New Mexico, and they put in the word Shiprock.
Your location.
Nowhere is this in any of my photos that I've put in here.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
they figured that out with GPS, and that's great. And that's the thing that Alan was getting at. There's so
Hang on.
much
Oh,
potential
Dan.
here. They are uniquely
Dan.
they with Google Maps and everything. There's so much potential here for them to really do a kick butt thing, and
Dan.
they've had that for a
Dan.
couple years. Go ahead, Alan.
No, Dan, stop. This is actually what's really cool about how they're doing stories.
Are we
and we'll
switching
use
to
this as our
stories now?
transition into stories.
I agree. Are we
Well,
switching
we'll
to that?
use this. We'll use this as our transition into it.
But what
One of
I
the
was
rea-
just I
one
was
of the
doing the
things that-
closing thing on the three new features. Just what your gripe was that they've got so much potential and they're uniquely poised with the auto backup thing with Drive that they're letting you upload in full quality, even in RAW, which is a far cry from the garbage quality that Facebook offers. But Facebook has some other features that are neat, like it's pretty good at tagging and figuring out this is your friend Alan in this photo.
No, Facebook's no better than Google on that front, and Google is better because it does better with privacy.
I get more nonsense
here's-
tags here than I do there, and I get more relevant ones there than I do here. And I hate Facebook. But
Okay.
I got to be honest and say
That's
that.
you. I don't.
Okay.
That's you.
Do you want to
Um,
weigh in on these photo things, Stephen, before we move to stories?
Let me
Go ahead, Alan. I'm
try
sorry.
something that Mike Ellis said. I partly agree and partly disagree with you, Mike, about the silly features. On one hand, I appreciate some of their silly features because they're tests for other pretty groundbreaking stuff. So the auto HOF, that was silly and ridiculous, but it demonstrates some interesting things. The smile recognition, silly, but it does that's facial detection and smile detection. That's very sophisticated. So in that sense, I'm okay with some of that stuff. But this garbage, this is them saying, hey, we're going to provide you with better photo management. This is not better photo management.
I
This
agree.
is nonsense.
It's nothing. I'm struggling so much with my photos now because I've decided to put everything on Google Plus, and it's impossible to manage them.
Exactly.
And in fact, I sent you a message asking about the auto backup thing. I saw it on Harold's screen just now. He still has the link that says auto backup. Mine, I don't have that link anymore, so I can't click on anything that shows me the photos that have been uploaded from my phone. It's just not there.
I'm not
That's
sure
a
I can find that. That's odd.
No explanation. They still are going there. I mean, it's still uploading photos.
It doesn't
If
make
I
any
click-
sense either, Michael, because photographers have always, from the very first day, have been from about 3 months in, they were a huge part of Google Plus.
Yeah, I know.
And they're some of the biggest followers we have. You'd think they'd be catering. There are only a few niches that were big early
No,
on.
but
You'd think-
photographers are not majority population of Google Plus. Dan, come on.
no,
That's
but
not majority of the population. That's a
But
tiny,
here's-
tiny portion of people on Google Plus.
But
they're
that was
just
one of
catering to the tiny
one of the
portion?
things. The way the photos appeared on Google Plus was a feature that was highlighted. And
Dan. Dan, not one of these features that's in Google Plus did the photographers like. They hate Auto Awesome. They despise it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, meant for them. So what?
I,
Tons of
I've
people
seen
like
that.
it.
I've seen that too with Instagram. People always complain about that, but I think the majority of photographers are on the site 500px, and they're on SmugMug and different professional sites where they're selling the photos that they're making. Yeah, they'll upload them to Google Plus to share them, and they don't necessarily care if they're as organized as maybe some of the normal people want them, like a Facebook would do or whatnot. But I would disagree with the statement of the photographers wanting it more organized here, because honestly, all the photographer friends that I know they've got the majority of their work on 500px and maybe
Exactly.
maybe SmugMug along the way. I mean, SmugMug
But
used to be good back
Is
in the
it?
day.
But Steven, is
Here's
that
the thing,
because
they're
they
not
can
using
organize
those
them
rights
better
for
there,
organizing.
or is that because they can monetize them there, or both?
Well, I think I was gonna say both, but I also think the photography community at 500px. I mean, they're not just getting people that are viewing their photos, but they're getting inspirational comments. They're getting people to give them accurate criticism on their photography. I mean, it's made for professional photographers. I mean, and I'm not trying to do an ad for them or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, I think that for the majority of professional photographers, you're not going to see them using Google Plus for storing photographs and having. I mean, they'll put them there to share, but I think that's the
Exactly.
extent.
Well,
Right on. Absolutely, it's exactly right. And then another thing I would say, Alan, where I think you're wrong, is that you're looking for a management solution. Like I said, you can set up your own. Same thing with Michael. You can set up your own albums. You can name them whatever you want. You can put things in. What you don't want to do, clearly, is you don't want to do the work yourself. So it's not that they don't have organizational capability. It just you want it to be done automatically.
No,
That is
I'd
the
say
deal.
I'd say you're misunderstanding me on two fronts, Oleg.
Okay.
I'm not even saying that you and I disagree because I don't think we do. For starters, yes, I can create albums on Google+. I can't manage them. I can't put them in any order. I can't find them later. Honestly, albums in Google+ are a black hole.
Why?
They are utter fucking crap.
I don't understand
Okay,
why
so
when you
that's
say
one.
you can't find them. Why can't you find them?
Because I've got 500 albums.
And you can't do a search. It doesn't find your names.
I don't think
No.
it would if you haven't posted them. If you've posted,
There's
if,
no
if,
s-
if I wanted to
Oleg,
find
Oleg,
like
Okay.
if I wanted to
albums.
find my pictures from Apple Blossom Festival last year, right? Which is album. I mean, God knows how many albums ago. If I had not posted that in a Google Plus post, a search will find that. But I don't think how would I find that album? What if I hadn't put them in an album?
There's
well,
no-
here's the thing.
I can't even find a photograph that I uploaded 10 minutes ago, because once I open up albums or whatever, it's like it's not the first one there. I have to search through all my pictures to find it.
Albums aren't logically organized. Even if I do auto backup, okay, I now have 500 photos showing up under a single day. So sorting by date isn't of any use. Jumping back to a particular month is useless because that's 30 times 500 photos that are now appearing in a 1 month period.
And not
Okay,
only
it's
that,
unmanageable.
Go ahead,
Now,
Kadesh.
now that's one.
Okay, go ahead.
Two, you're saying that I want it automatically generated. Well, it's not that I want it automatically generated, although I do. It's that the photos team at Google seems to have this attitude that people are utterly incompetent, and the only way to manage photos is to do them automatically. And on that, they've got some valid points. We see that with stories. We saw that with Auto Awesome Movie. We see that with this new highlighted versus non-highlighted. We've seen that over and over and over and over again when it comes to Google Plus Photos, is that in some cases it will take them 6 months to a year to roll out the manual feature, but the automatic feature is there from day one. Okay? Google Plus Photos doesn't trust us. And I think if they're going to not trust us, they might as well give us the full set of tools to help us manage that lack of trust.
It's
Give me tools that I actually want.
it.
I
Not
know that I can
It's
find
good
everything
that they're
you find.
catering
I don't
to the
have a problem finding
masses,
stuff.
like Oleg said. You know, the mass. I mean, the number of people who would actually go in and edit a story or edit an auto-created video is like 0.01%, right? So that's
Well,
not
it's
mass
point-
I
appeal
disagree
feature.
with that, Dan.
Dan,
That's not-
Dan,
that's
it's
not-
0.01% of 0.01%. These features are almost not going to be used. Auto Awesome Movie has had practically no usage since it came out.
because a lot of people can't access it.
Yeah. And I'm willing to bet that stories you'll see the same sort of thing.
I totally
Stories
disagree.
will have a large
Totally
surge
disagree.
now, and it'll taper
I
off.
Any other?
completely
Okay, we're
disagree.
ready to go to stories in just a moment. Any further comments from anybody on these photo features before we move to stories, because that's going to be another thing. Okay, so before we poo-poo the glitches on it, Harold, you've played with it, and you were sharing some with me on launch day. Why don't you begin this conversation about stories and tell us what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and what your first impressions were and are about this feature, which we all agree is very cool and has tremendous potential. Go ahead, Harold.
Let me actually lead with this. I don't just think that it's cool and has tremendous potential. I think this is Google Plus's greatest feature since they introduced Circles.
That I would agree with.
Above Hangouts.
No.
Okay.
Other than Google Plus
Hangouts
Week
and Circles
and
came in at the same time. Okay, since
no, it's in fourth place
No,
after our Android Week.
you're right.
Hangouts always been their killer
It ranks
feature.
up there with Circles and Hangout.
All right, Harold, lead us.
Okay, this is that big a feature.
What the two things I want to point out that really blew my mind is this picture that I have up on the screen here of San Francisco. By far, this is the best picture I ever took, and it put it on the cover of my San Francisco album. Out of probably 300 pictures of this trip, it put this picture, which was the best one I took, up there. Which is, I don't understand how it did that. Is it manually, or that's the one thing. Another thing it did is it took look at the date in this. It's 2002. It went all the way back to 2002 and put this album together.
The Vegas one below it is an epic picture. Did it manually?
I know. Yeah, it does. I did not pick either one of these. Both of these were picked by Google.
I guess it's an
automatically.
algorithm that determines by
Yeah, there's
GPS
nothing manual there.
that,
There's definitely algorithm.
that of all the photos you took that day, that most people take a photo within X number of feet of where you were, so they determine that that's probably a hot spot. I'm wildly speculating here, but that would be the most logical thing. But kudos to them, because they obviously that's an epic picture.
Well, what they
on.
tell you to do is, like, here I took a picture of this chain with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background, and they tell you to do stuff like that, like a tree with something in the background, and because everybody will just take a picture of the bridge where you have something else in it. But I don't know how they figured out that this was my best picture.
I think they probably figure out different parts of the area that are landmarks. That's my guess. And then based on that, knowing what the landmarks are, that's how they grab the picture with here's the landmark. I mean, that's my guess is what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, they did 32. They did 32 of these, and they went all the way back to 2001, which is the trip to Las Vegas.
Harold,
So
go ahead
this-
and click on your click on your window there, just to get rid of that webcam
Oh yeah, the
pop up
webcam
there.
thing. Okay.
Just click on your
Rid of that.
window and it'll go away.
Okay. Yeah, and then the other things that I noticed on here is it puts in things that you haven't typed, like dates and stuff like that, and it has where you've traveled and different things. If you've traveled to a certain place, it puts all the stamps in there. It says you were at Shiprock, and what's really weird is it puts all the restaurants that you have eaten at that time. It had 5-6 restaurants that were near me. I'll bring that up. Go ahead and somebody else talk, and I'll
But
bring up.
that
I'll
does
show
not
you an
mean it
example.
shows restaurants where you've eaten. It just shows restaurants or local big locations that are in the area. Like, for example, the one I'm looking at here, it shows this restaurant. I did not eat at the restaurant. But notice over there they show the little times, little clocks, to show you when this occurred, which is phenomenal. Shows you the location where you're near. You can add your own text to it, which is pretty convenient. You can, of course, get rid of things, add things, and stuff like that. If you're traveling, like Harold said, then you can actually see like a little navigation with a map on it, which is pretty cool. And then you can see also they add not only the pictures, like here's the deal, we went to see Godzilla. I don't know, Dan, if you're showing it or not, but you can see that there's you can play a video. The only thing I would wish they would do is play the video directly within the deal. So instead of going back to the whatever it's called, Lightbox display, and there's the Godzilla right there, as you can see, if anybody can see it. Boom.
Copyright.
Okay, it's copyrighted. I don't want Dan to get off.
Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah,
And
I'm gonna get.
so it's
let me
nice
look
to
for a
see the
warning
videos,
here.
it's nice to see the photos and the way it scrolls, and I mean they just did a beautiful job. My day before yesterday, my son went to a field trip, and and the next morning they came out with this movie deal with highlights of the trip. It was just phenomenal. It was absolutely amazing. Immediately got shared with some of the kids and parents, and his teacher was blown away by it when I sent the teacher the very next day. And I didn't have to do squat, and this thing just comes out like this. It's a pretty incredible feature in my view.
I got a question for.
I have
Go
a
ahead,
question
Pam, and then I
too.
got. Look, Pam, hang on one second. Let me ask Harold. You said it listed every restaurant you went to. Did you take photos in there? Like, were you pinning your meal or whatever? Or it knew because you had your phone with you, it knew you attended those
Yeah,
restaurants,
it's a GPS thing.
and so it included
Yeah.
those.
But it doesn't show restaurants that you ate necessarily.
No.
It shows restaurants there.
So
Okay,
it just
there's
showed
no way
random
they can
local
know if Harold
restaurants.
ate or not.
Okay, so it did.
Yeah,
it-
what it does is it does a location.
Right.
On this one, I'm trying to bring it up, and for some reason it's really slow. But when I went to stay at a motel, what happened is it has a picture of the motel that I took there. But right next to that picture, it has a geolocation for the subway at the motel. The local for it has the subway. It has a couple other places that are near that hotel, and it just put four Google local things on there next to the picture.
And if you have a panorama, look at this. This is the one I'm showing. It has a panorama picture that I took. It actually cannot fit the whole thing on one screen, so you can see part of this panorama picture. And then if you click on the scroller deal, it scrolls and shows it to you in the next deal. So you can it actually can split pictures, one picture across multiple scrolls like this. This is, believe it or not, one picture, which is pretty
To
cool.
clarify a little bit about the location, it uses a lot of different indicators to determine location. So if your photos are geotagged, it will use the geotagging on the photos. If your photos are not geotagged, and to this I give them a lot of credit, it's using your Google Plus location information to help identify where you're at. So it's pulling in information, once again, from a lot of different sources.
Yes.
So now can I ask my question?
Now, go for it, Pam.
Okay. I have all this crap turned off. I don't allow Google Plus to know my location. I only turn on GPS if I'm actively navigating something. Like if I'm going to meet up with somebody in a location that I don't already know how to get to, then I'll do, type in the address and I'll turn on Google Maps for navigation. But I don't have any kind of location stuff turned on at any other time. So in that case, Google's not going to try that, right?
Right. Correct. They can't do magic. Of course not.
Right. So there's nothing secret that they're pulling that I don't want to have.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No, that's a good
That's a
question.
question, Pam. When
this
you
is-
actually take your pictures, are your pictures when you take your pictures, are they still geotagging in them?
Yeah, look at this one. Look at this example that I put up.
And
I'm
the
showing
only
it
reason-
has 4 of them.
The only reason why I'm asking that is because that's still more data when that picture's uploaded. It's still more data that they'll be able to collect.
How would I know the answer to that question?
Go look at the picture.
Yeah.
Go look at the picture in Google Plus. It will show you a map if it's geotagged. Now, hang on, before anybody else says anything. In Google Plus, the default is to keep that geotagging information private only to you. So it's a really good question if this uses that geotagging information even if you have it set privately. That's a
And
good
it
question,
probably
and I don't
does.
think anyone's answered that.
It probably does, more than likely. But at the
Well,
same time, Pam, your actual
If it does, then it's breaking your privacy.
Right.
Oh, this is what I wanted to show you on this picture here is when I was staying at this motel, I went to the San Juan School District, the Clark's Market, and Subway Restaurant, and you can see it has their locals on here, on all 3 of those, and I did not type anything. It just threw this up there because I actually walked into these places.
Yeah, but you have that setting so that you're letting Google know where you are. It's
Right.
not,
Pam, the best, Pam. I'm
I'm
sorry. I'm gonna break in for a second, guys, because I gotta run to your delivery. So, Pam, basically, the best way to do it, since you don't want to share anything with Google, get a pad of paper and some crayons, don't take any pictures, just draw. Okay? That way you're guaranteed that Google will not be able to do anything with any of your information. With that, I wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend. I gotta split, maybe I'll come back. But thank you.
Hug your kids.
Take care, Oleg.
Hug your kids.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Pam's point and you know, and Harold's examples are great. You know, I absolutely love this feature in the controlled fashion. My biggest problem with this particular location feature is I have 10 albums, I have 10 stories that Google made for me. 3 of which are ones that I would like to share. All of them have wrong information. Totally and utterly wrong information. And I have no way to correct that information.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time playing with that, and there was things I was like, oh, this has got to be wrong, and I would go and try and update it, and it wouldn't update. So yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right. So for example, in one point, I've got one that talks about me getting my prescription filled for my glass frames. I want to give the shout out to the optician that did the work, and to their credit, they show his store information. They got that correct. I was thrilled at this. It then showed this map going from my house to where his store is located in Nyack, New York. I'm not thrilled about the fact that it located my house, but I was willing to deal with that for the moment. It then said that Nyack, New York was apparently called Sleepy Hollow, New York, which is wrong. Sleepy Hollow is totally different. So it's putting out this information that is completely and utterly wrong, and I have no way to fix it. So that album, as much as I loved it, I can't use because it's giving me this incorrect information. And if this was the only case where that happened, I might be irked. But all 3 of these albums have similarly incorrect information. I've got an album that was generated from my trip to Google Glass Basecamp last week, the week before. When did I do it? I'm so lost track of time these days. Okay? So I'm at a known location, a location that Google knows, and it put me a block away. And then started sticking in restaurants from even another block away. And I'm just like, where did you get this even vague idea that I was in this restaurant or anywhere near this restaurant? And then I was doing all of this work on the desktop. When I actually looked at it on mobile, it gave me a choice of restaurants. That made me happier because now at least I could start switching between it and pick the one that I was actually in. No, the one that I was actually in wasn't listed, and there was no way to add it.
Right. No, but you can delete the ones you weren't in. That worked with a couple of them.
Harold, yes, I can delete ones.
Yeah.
That's fine, and I'm happy for that, but I can't add correct information.
That's correct.
So I now have a story that is now missing information.
Right.
Because there's no way to add it.
Yeah,
and
when you update it, it doesn't work. I've updated it 3 or 4 times, and nothing happens. And lots of times when I click on the little X in the top corner, it doesn't go away. There's lots of bugs.
Bugs. There's bugs like that. There's bugs about the fact that X doesn't do it, that edit doesn't edit. There are a bunch of bugs like that. Those are bugs. Maybe in 6 or 9 months they'll fix those bugs. My problem aren't the bugs. My problem are the missing features that totally make this a damaged product. And this is a horribly, horribly damaged product because of missing features that they should have put in from day one that's going to take them 2 years, if ever, to get in. Let me give you another example, okay? I just mentioned the fact that I wanted to use this to profile my friend's store. That's great. In doing this, Google Plus wants me to treat this like a travel log. It's not a travel log. Okay, if I was making a travel log, this would be perfect, and clearly this was meant for travel logs. But there's so much more that you can do with a story. There are so many other kinds of stories to tell that focusing on travel only is a shame. It's a crying shame that the only thing I can do is talk about traveling to a place instead of profiling a store and its products, instead of telling other kinds of narration through this. We have more stories than just travel stories, and this doesn't let me tell those stories. It likes focusing on things that happen on a date. There's no way to get rid of the date from the cover page, for example. Try it. You can't do it. It automatically sticks a date or a date range there. And there's no way, I mean, you can get rid of all the location information, but you can't change location information, and it really wants to talk about traveling between locations. So if I was a store and I wanted to create a story about some of the products that I sell, it's really tough for me to do it. You know, so those are the missing features about this great tool. I really think this is awesome. I have, for example, many of you will remember that I said 2 years ago that what Google really should do if they want to capture people from Pinterest isn't just make bigger photos, it's make a bigger photo system. It's make a scrapbook system. This is so close to a scrapbook system, but so botched up and so far away.
This kind of leads into what Kadea said about events. It doesn't handle. You can't pull a story from. For example, you create an event like a photo walk
or a family reunion.
Or a hurl, or any kind of event, a soccer game, a graduation, whatever. You can't compile your story in such a way as to make it interesting for an event. If you're not traveling somewhere, if you're not like driving from point A to point B or whatever, then it's not, it's just, or if I take a picture and share it with the event, and Kadeus takes a picture and shares it with the event, and you take a picture and share it with the event, then
we
it
have 3 stories.
That's right, yeah.
Well, one of the features on here that it says you can do that you can't is it says that you can add photos. It says if you don't like this, you can add photos to it, and you have to recompile it, and you could lose everything if you do that. But,
right.
You can't add photos. There's no button to add another camera. It says you can add photos from another camera. There's no way to do that. And
Harold, the way what I think they mean by that is if you click on the add button and the moon is correctly in phase, it brings up a list. It brings up a list of all of the other photos that it didn't use for this album.
Oh my
so
God.
if you shot like 10 pictures on Tuesday and it only picked 2 of those pictures from that Tuesday, it'll show you all 10 of them and let you pick which ones that you want. You can't, however, at least I haven't been able to figure out exactly how, load in other pictures from outside those date ranges. And this goes back to one of the other fundamental flaws of it, is that there's no way to force it to actually make one of these. So Harold, I'm so glad that it made those albums going back 15 years. I have 10 albums. I have 10 stories in my collection that date back 1 month, maybe 2 months at this point. I would really like to see my pictures from I.O. last year compiled into an album, into a story. That's a great story. I would really like to see my photos from 2 years ago. There are a lot, I've got a lot of photos that I took with the intention of turning them into stories. I'd love to see it actually turn them into stories. I mean, this is what I was doing when I was going on photo walks and taking pictures on a theme. I was telling stories with them. So I'm glad that it's now supporting that feature more directly. But let me do it. I'll even let me point it at an album and turn that into a story. I'll be happy with that.
Oh, that'd be too easy, Alan. That'd be way too easy.
And this is just incredibly frustrating to me.
All right.
That for some reason they think, and I understand why, and they're correct, they're correct in the fact that most people take photos and then don't do anything with them. So having it done automatically for you, that's brilliant. By the way, Harold, did you ever get a notification when those stories were made?
No, I had no idea. I had no idea I had any until I
Right.
found out how to find them. And
How
then
do
all
you
of a
find
sudden
them?
I had
Because that's my
32.
question. I may have a bunch. My God.
I had 32, and I didn't even know I had any.
Where do you find
Well,
them?
let me answer Dan's question in a second.
And then
but
we
first,
should move on because I'm ready to open my screen door and let the bear in and eat me if we don't move on.
Excellent. We really like that idea, Dan. Make sure you capture photographs of it.
Absolutely.
So
we
we
can
can
make a
tell the
story of
story.
Dan getting eaten by the bear before he blows
Don't
it
forget your
its
GPS.
head
If you
off
don't
with
have
his
that on, it
350.
won't matter.
And then I'm going to blow its head
So-
off with my 357 Magnum with hollow points.
So here's the thing. They say that they will send notifications out when a new story is made for you. I've never seen one. Never
I've
heard
never
anybody who
seen
did. So
one.
there's a bug.
Harold has 32
The
and there are
way-
none.
One bug?
Yeah.
I think
Well, I said there's a bug.
Yeah, I think it's a
Breaking
design
news.
flaw, this
Where's the
whole thing.
CNN alert tick here? We need the big graphic. Breaking news. There's a bug on Google Plus.
But you know what? Like I said, the bugs I can live with. Those have a chance of getting fixed. Not a big chance, mind you, but a chance. Getting improvements to a system? Forget it. There's almost no chance that they'll actually fix some of the design problems.
I wonder if they'll add the Navajo language to this.
You have a better
Don't
chance
make
of that than them actually fixing things. Really, I mean, you got it for Chrome. To find these, though, what you can do is you go into Photos, you click on the More link, which will be on the rightmost side of the options along the top, and you click Stories, which, at least for me, is the first one listed, because they're really hot and heavy about it right now.
Yeah.
That's where auto backup used to be.
Yeah,
I find it
you're right,
interesting because
actually.
on mine, stories is not it, and the stories is not there. I still have auto backup there, so maybe it's more based on how you use it. But I guess you guys haven't used stories either, so I have no idea because mine's is still auto backup.
Well, stories just arrived for me today because when Harold was talking about it, I went and looked, and mine are there. And I have 5 stories, and I got no notification that I was getting any.
Yeah, no notifications at all. But yeah, mine's is highlights, all photos, auto backup. So
I don't hear auto backup anymore. Stories replaced it.
Well, I'll let you guys take over. I have to go. I'll see you.
See ya,
Thanks, Harold.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
buddy.
sharing the stories.
Okay, any final thoughts on stories? I just combined Harold and stories together. I should patent that before Apple and Samsung sue me.
I mean, I could tell you about the vast number of other missing features, but maybe I'll just make a post about it that'll be ignored.
Oh my God. The
Will be ignored
malaise.
by us.
It's like Jimmy Carter's in the Hangout. All right, so
Rodney Dangerfield.
the malaise.
Yeah, more like.
All right, so I'm going to do the next topic here and then hand it back to Alan. But I want to caution you, if you have young children watching, I may use some colorful language on this topic because I'm upset. So as you gather your children out of the room safely behind sealed barriers, I will begin. So it all started with this thing, which I thought was awesome. And I'm going to share my screen with the viewers, but you guys won't see it in the Hangout. But okay, so Amit Foulé, who's awesome, and he's been on the show, I think, very briefly when Alan was doing a remote from the first I/O he went to. So Amit shared this, broadcasting Hangouts on air across the web with plus post ads. So this was cool. This is like if you have a show and you want to promote the show, they had this really cool feature. This is great for brands, and a lot of the tech websites and newspapers online, etc., talked about this as only for pages, but it's actually for anybody who has 1,000+ followers. So here's the post. It's pretty short. This is from Amit. From world leaders such as President Obama and Chancellor Merkel connecting with constituents to fashion designer Diane von Furstenberg, debuting a collection for fans, Hangouts on Air gives you a new way to have meaningful conversations with your audience. Last week, we announced the full availability of plus post ads to all advertisers with at least 1,000 followers. Brands can now grow the audience of their Hangouts on Air by promoting them across the web with plus post ads. People can participate with your Hangout directly from the ad by engaging in Q&A, leaving a comment, or sharing your broadcast. And then here's his photo, 3 photos here. See how ASOS used Plus Post ads to reach more fashion fans before, during, and after their most recent Hangout on Air. And then here's the photo spread. Before the Hangout, a teaser trailer image is promoted across the web via Plus Post ads to raise awareness. People can RSVP for the event, receive a reminder. So like Google Plus features are built in, and very cool because it helps get people to consider signing up or upgrading or whatever you want to call it for Google Plus. And then during the actual event, the Plus Post has a live badge, drawing more attention to it. The live unit allows viewers to tune into your Hangout, participate in Q&A with a host, or share the broadcast. And then the third thing here is promoting the video recording via post ads lets you drive video views to promote your content to relevant audiences. After the Hangout ends, users can watch footage from the event in the Lightbox ad. So this was cool. I noticed looking at his post here that this post was shared by our friend Chi. Oops, definitely not sharing it again. It was shared by me. It was shared by me, by Chi, and by AdWords, right? So they're promoting this right here. Google Ads shared this post. So here's the deal. So I attempted to do one as an experiment for Monday's Our Android Week show. So I normally do a YouTube Live event, which is what you're watching now. But I set up the Android show Monday, Our Android Week, which is Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, as an HOA, Hangout on Air, so that I could test the Plus Post Ads feature. So I went in there early in the day, and I put in basically you have to do a display-only ad, and then you select the option for social media post, and then it says put in the URL of your page, and you could put your personal profile or your page, but it has to have 1,000+ followers. And since the Android page does not have that, I use my personal page, which has over 1,000 followers. So I put that in there, and it showed all of my posts that I could promote except the event for the Hangout on Air, because now a Hangout on Air that's scheduled is an event. So it wouldn't work. So I was on the phone. So I was an hour and a half or more on the phone with the AdWords at Google tech support people. And she said she didn't know what the hell was going on. And then she said she consulted her sources, her resources, and then on and on. And then finally we determined that there was no resolution to this. Then she said it'd be a good idea if, because these are complicated, because it's new, right? And this is like a couple weeks after they announced it. It's new, and so I should arrange the ad 3 weeks ahead of time. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I said, I want to talk to a supervisor. Can someone call me or whatever? So then I got this email, and I'm not gonna.
He's not going to read the whole thing, thankfully.
I am gonna read the whole thing because it's very short, because it contradicts Alan's contradiction of my thing. Here's her email from Michelle, and I'm not gonna read my response to her, which is at the bottom, which was fairly short. But here's her response. Hi, Dan. This is Michelle from the Google AdWords Ann Arbor office. I think I've correctly concealed all the email addresses here. I am working on your case with Jessica regarding a Hangout on Air. Thank you for reaching out to our team and giving us an opportunity to assist you. From what I understand, you are trying to create a live Hangout on Air event in a Plus Post ad. In order to get started with this, you would need to work with a Google Tech Producer / Engagement Program Specialist to help project manage the live event. Also, the campaign would need to meet a minimum spend requirement within 90 days of the event of at least $300,000 to promote the HOA, and at least $100,000 of the total spend must be spent using the Plus Post ads to promote the HOA. I would just need to get verification from you that this is what you would like to do, and I can reach out to the appropriate team to get started with this. Looking forward to your response. Sincerely, Michelle. And my response is at the bottom of the screen, which I'm not going to read because we are a family-friendly program. But basically, the initial post implied that anybody with over 1,000 followers could do typical ads, and they forgot the caveat that said, "Oh, it's $300,000," which is, in my opinion, noteworthy. So
I still maintain that the way I read this, even with the use of the term HOA several times in there,
she
is
referred
that
to a
they're-
Hangout on Air event.
right, is
How
that
could she
they're
possibly
still
have confused that with the YouTube Live?
because, come on, you got to be kidding me. How could they possibly confuse it? Easily, you confuse
This
it
has
all
been
the
a beta
time.
testing for months. It's been announced for 3 weeks.
Dan,
this is a
you
supervisor.
confuse live events and Hangout on Air events all the time, like twice a week.
What do you mean?
Never mind.
Is this a Hangout on Air?
I don't know what this is. Is this? Should I pay with Google Wallet or Google Wallet? Stephen, you are uniquely qualified to be empathetic toward my situation here. Alan, you are frozen bad. I think your neighbor just launched Netflix or something. Go ahead, Alan. Well, you're back.
Am I back?
You're back. Go ahead. You're frozen.
I think the key indicator here is that YouTube is trying to get revenge on me right now. No, is that she indicated that you needed a program manager for a live event. And to me, that screams a YouTube live event. Now, I realize she used the term HOA and Hangout on Air multiple times in there. But the fact that the $300,000 cost was for the manager for a live event makes me think that they're not thinking this is, something you're doing out of your basement.
Yeah, so my initial reaction was, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Fuck you.
Since we're a family-friendly show.
Yeah, I told people to get their kids out of the room. And my response was slightly less offensive than that. But I've reached out to the appropriate channels, and I've not heard a response, which I assume means, and they're very responsive in these channels. So I'm assuming that they are trying to figure this out as well, because for them to publicly announce this, and then I'm going to go to Stephen and say, anybody with over 1,000, because it doesn't make any sense. If I give you $300,000, why the hell would you care how many people have circled me, right? If I lay three G's on the freaking table, who cares? I could be a brand new startup nobody's heard of, or I could be Cadbury. It's $300,000 freaking dollars, right? So they're not going to care. This doesn't make any sense to me. This has to be a fail. This is either, as Pam said, silos not talking to each other, or it's just incompetence, or someone screwed something up. It can't. If they really do expect that I can spend a minimum of $1 to promote a post with my video of my show, or I can spend $300,000 to promote the event with my HOA, which is the exact same freaking thing, then that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard of. So, on the Richter scale, I'm about a 4, which is surprising because I was about a 9 initially. Stephen Haywood, you are a broadcaster. Before you begin, tell us, for folks who want to watch the Tech Buzz, what's the best URL for you? And then I encourage our viewers to watch it. He's awesome. He's very patient. He's a great guy to know because he'll help you with stuff sometimes. Although he's probably gonna be pissed at me for telling you that. But it's a great show, and he's a really one of the early broadcasters on the internet, along with Leo Laporte and stuff like that. But tell us where to find you, and then tell us what your thoughts on this, what I would call just hopefully a temporary fail that will be worked out, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Go ahead, Stephen.
You can find me at thetechbuzz.net, but to address that, I kind of agree with you in the sense of $300,000. Who cares if you have 1 or 1 million followers?
Exactly.
$300,000. If you're going to throw it on the table, you're going to take it, right?
Yeah.
But my thing is, who in their right mind, with Google's Plus's status the way it is right now, the way, like I've been listening to some of the other topics that we've been talking about because I haven't been really familiar with it. I'm still really new to the Google Plus thing, trying to engage myself in it more and more. In its state, with all the broken things that are in Google Plus right now. There's no way I would pay them $500 or even $1,000 to promote my event.
Remember
in
the
the state
Moto
that it's currently
360? Remember, Steven, sorry to interrupt, but the Moto 360 HOA, I think it had to be restarted once or twice. And at the time, they may still be, but they were owned by Google. It was a Google property.
Let's not talk about that one.
Well, and that's kind of my point, Dan. I mean, even your broadcast, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm watching it in the small screen on your page, just as a reference point, and it's got to be at least a minute to a minute and a half behind what our actual conversation is. And for me, as a broadcaster, I want to engage with my chat room, anybody that's leaving comments and stuff. I don't want to engage with them a minute and a half later. I mean, $300,000, you better be giving me gold fiber lines for this thing. You know what I mean?
Fly somebody out, to sit on my lap or something. I mean, that's just...
They better be pressing the buttons, setting up my shots, and I'm just sitting there talking for $300,000. I mean, what was the time frame that they were going to allow you to advertise for? Was it just a one-time, or was this for like a week?
No, this is
or
a single hangout on air.
But I mean, how long were the advertisements? Like, were you going to do it for like 3 weeks? Was it $300,000?
90 days.
90.
They said 90 days.
No, it's within within a maximum of 90 days, you have to spend $300,000 with AdWords, right? So you at least $100,000 has to be with Plus Post ads, and the other $200,000 can be with traditional AdWords. But it all has to be spent within a 90-day window. So it could be spent in a 48-hour period, or it could be spent in a 90-day period. But this
Now,
is just...
I'm a little confused by this post.
I was reluctant to bring this up. And hang on one second, Cadeas, I'm going to go right to you. I was reluctant to bring it up, but then Pam forced me. Because I think it's some people who don't know what the hell they're talking about at AdWords. I'm hoping and praying that that's what the case is. Because this is so stupid and outrageous that it can't possibly be real. And if it is real, and if it does turn out to be accurate, then I will raise holy fucking hell about it repeatedly over and over again. So go ahead, Cadeas.
So I guess I'm missing what Plus Post ads is all about. Because I thought that Plus Post ads were your video streaming within the ad, so it was just during the live broadcast.
Plus Post ads are merely a new addition to AdWords, where you can. And I was going to show a screen showing that, but I can't because it's got like my user number and all that stuff, so I couldn't screen share that. Plus Post ads are merely just like with you have AdWords. You can do an ad. You can create a banner. You can share a YouTube video with AdWords. Right. So they just added a new thing where what you do is you create a new campaign, not a video campaign, a regular campaign, and then you say display only. Then you have an option for social media posts, and it's kludgy. It took me and the tech support lady 20 minutes to figure out where this stuff was. So then you go there, and then you put in your URL for your. I don't know how they make $12 billion a freaking quarter with the worst UI ever. I mean, it makes Drudge Report look like, the Mona Lisa. I mean, it's unbelievable bad. But they make billions of dollars a quarter with this shitty UI interface for their AdWords.
Because
the tech support people don't know how to use it, Alan.
Before.
But anyway, so you put the URL of your profile or your page's URL,
Okay, but so in the end result is
every post shows up that you have. It could be a post of, check out my photo of our new coffee shop we just opened, or hey, we're gonna have a great sale next week, or whatever you want to promote, right?
Okay.
So if I had put a YouTube video in there, of my show that had happened, or the YouTube video player for a show that was about to happen, then it might work. I'm not sure because I got so pissed off. I just said.
Okay, so that's what I thought. I thought this was live broadcasting in an ad window all the way across everything.
That's the way they presented it. My thing is, the product is fine. You start running the ad. Let's say you do an HOA event, right? So you run the AdWords. Let's say you're going to do it on Friday at noon, and then starting Tuesday, you start promoting it, and it pops up on the third-party Google Ad Network. So it could be on TechCrunch, or it could be on your local newspaper website, whatever. Everyone who uses AdSense, which is damn near every website, they stick it on there somewhere. So it would show up as a video player, and then when you're live, if someone happens on the website, when it's live, it would have a live yellow thing, and they could actually click right there in the ad and watch it in the ad, right?
But you
And they can comment underneath it on, like if you're on the Spokane Washington newspaper website and they have Google AdSense and they've got the ad there, then Google Plus Week would show up right there, or in this case it was our Android Week, which is at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, for you slackers on the West Coast, on Monday nights. But it would show up there, and you could watch it right there on the Spokane News, and then you can comment if you're a Google Plus member, right?
So really, it's so.
But
so
it's
I guess
$300,000.
Yeah, where does
They
the
forgot
text,
to mention that asterisk.
So
you know, that's worthy of an asterisk, isn't it? 300 grand.
need
Turn
300
around and grab your ankles. Here we come. AdWords.
So you need $300,000 to put the ad there, or you need $300,000
It's a minimum spend.
Oh, before they even do anything.
Oh no. Yeah. They're not gonna.
Okay, well then, yeah.
If you want to promote your post of oh, look at the cool new photo I just took of our new sign for our business, right? Your minimum ad spend is what, $1 and a penny per click, right? But if you want to do an HOA event, which they specifically highlighted in Amit's post, it's $300,000. Turn around and grab your ankles. I got to put Kevin's Kevin's comments. Okay, first comment, and then back to Steven or whoever wants to.
Yeah, because I got a question for you then after that. Go ahead.
Okay, Kevin Bryan. I'm going to do my best Kevin Bryan impersonation. Here we go. What up, peeps? First comment. Feature me, baby. Woo! All right, second comment. Auto Awesome Stories would be much awesomer if you could correct wrong info. Otherwise, the story is false. Can you edit stories? Quick answer.
Maybe.
Okay. That's very helpful.
Look, you wanted a quick answer. You wanted a quick answer.
Hey,
Remember,
he's
you
an
weren't
honest
listening to
guy.
me last
Alan's
time,
an honest
so
guy.
fine.
Alan's honest. When the moon is in the okay, Kevin Bryan. This is for to Alan. When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets, and Google Plus will let you edit your stories. I just had
Dan, you got
Kevin Bryan
You got to
is-
sing that one.
when I forget. I'm
gotta
not
sing
old
it.
enough. I don't know if I'm old enough, and my hair's too short.
You're
And I'm
old
not
enough.
stoned. If I was
You're old enough for
stoned,
that one.
if someone could,
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Amazon me don't they have that same day service? You could give me a blunt or something, and I could. All right. Anyway, so Stephen, you wanted to address this
I just wanted to ask.
conundrum.
You know, you've got a lot of followers on Google Plus, and they want you to spend a minimum of $300,000
For a show
have
that
it.
promotes their product.
Okay. So my question: what guarantee are you going to have that X amount of eyeballs are going to see that? And even at that, and I ask myself this as a broadcaster, you can shove something in my face all you want, and I've got that selective vision when it comes to ads. Even though I run ads myself, it's kind of like
I was pointing at his glass.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things. Like, okay, you can't force me to watch your show, just like nobody can. I can't force anybody to watch my show. So what are they guaranteeing you when you're dropping 300 G's down on the table?
Nothing. It's about discovery. It's about a gamble.
Discovery
It's
for
a big
what?
gamble.
Like right
Yeah,
now.
but discovery for what?
Right now we've got right now I'll show you live here. We've got 18 live viewers, and we'll have a lot more than that.
So what if you spent
After the
300
fact, right?
G and you got
But-
100 viewers? Did you get your money's worth?
Hell no.
That's my point.
I'm not gonna. That'd be what, $30,000 per viewer. I could fly them to my living room, all expenses paid, massage.
Exactly. there's got to be more to this story than meets the eye here. Like somebody screwed up, and maybe somebody's gonna get fired over this.
Alan's
I just
initial
kinda-
Alan's initial reaction was that they're confusing me with a concert promoter who's trying to do a Taylor Swift YouTube live event and wants the full-blown thing, and they
That would
probably
make sense.
They might stick it on Google.com like happening right now. Taylor Swift's thing that's worth 300 grand, no doubt, right? 100%.
Yeah.
But this
Right,
is
it
a
making
product
sense,
that
the
they
larger
said.
screen argument of it.
Yeah, but they describe this as anybody with over 1,000 Google Plus followers, right? Can use this feature, right? So I was like, I qualify, and this will be fun to test and talk about on Google Plus Week, right? So I tested it, and I'm talking about it on Google Plus Week. I just wanted to share my experience, my wonderful experience with Plus Post ads.
Hey Dan,
Yeah.
I just watched a little info thing from Google about this.
Mm-hmm.
Their example that they use is Toyota trying to reach their customers. That's the example that they use for Plus Post ads. So it seems as though that is kind of what they're targeting, because and actually when I dug for this, it's under the business side of things. So this is kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can promote all of my other posts show up as promotable, and the event did not show up, right?
That's another
So
thing. You know
why
how
can I
you
have a
get
one?
stuff.
Why can I take this show that's recorded, or a picture about the show saying whatever, and promote it for literally a penny a view minimum? Although if you want to get like targeted, you got to spend more. With a minimum ad spend of $1, and I would spend. I mean, I've spent God knows how much money promoting this show and the other show, but $1 minimum, and then it's $300,000 minimum for Hang Out on Air, and they characterize it as it's public. Anybody with over 1,000 followers can do it. They should have fucking mentioned, as long as you have $30,000 for each follower, or each one has $3,000 or whatever the hell it is, because that's absurd. I mean, that's absolutely outrageous if this is accurate, because it's arrogant and condescending and stupid. Because this is, if someone wants to give them money to promote content that can only be fully appreciated, and the full immersion experience requires you to upgrade or sign up for Google Plus, they're stupid to not encourage that. And to have a barrier entry that Virgin Airlines can afford is stupid. It's failure-oriented strategy. That's abbreviated as FOS, failure-oriented strategy.
With the exception of the money, I think I'm going to defend Google on this one. Everything about this is deeply integrated on the business side, Dan. Everything about this, and the more I look into it, I actually see what they're trying to do. So, with the exception of the $300,000, because I haven't seen a price anywhere yet, and that's what I'm digging for.
But Cadeas,
Yeah,
here's
what's
the thing. Traditionally, they have not cared if you are a business or not a business when you're advertising. They haven't cared. They'll take your money. Okay, so the fact that they've demonstrated it using Toyota or demonstrated it using other big names doesn't mean that it's only meant for those big names. It's just it's a great way to give an example. So I can easily see how mom and pop shops who might want to do HOAs or might want to take advantage of posts will want to do so. And those are businesses, but they're tied to a person in some cases. Now, I can see it if Dan was not doing this as a page, but if I remember correctly, he was doing it as a page.
He said he couldn't because he didn't have enough followers for the page, so he had to do it as his personal profile. Yeah.
I understand that it's different. I mean, an AdWords thing is typically is always pre-approved, or it's approved after you post it, right? So you post it up there. There's an approval process where they look at it, and that's reasonable. They don't want to push it out to, especially the third-party network, unless a Googler has looked at it and said this is kosher. So, because they could get complaints from 4,000 websites if all of a sudden I had inserted porn in the middle of the show, if I was a troll. So I get that. And with a live thing, it's even more sensitive because you really don't know what could possibly happen. And what if something crazy, like there was a suicide in the middle of the show, and it was literally playing on the Spokane News and TechCrunch and all these other sites, Pinterest, all these other sites use AdSense. So I understand there's concerns there, but it shouldn't simply say it's open to everybody with 1,000+ followers, and all the other post ads are open. I mean, just regular AdWords ads, and this one is a $300,000 barrier of entry. That should have been noted, and it's absurd. It's absolutely outrageous.
At the same time, if looking at this page and how they built this page is built just like the Hangouts for what was it? Hangouts for meetings, Hangout meetings for business with the Chromebox and the whole 9 yards. And even there's never a price. It just specifies to call, and that's where you learn the real dollar amounts of everything. So
But
I think
that
this
doesn't matter because it was presented with a post on Google Plus from a Googler. It was shared by AdWords. That post said, and I guarantee you a whole lot more people saw that post than would find that page that I don't even know exists and you found. And if you present something as anybody with over 1,000 followers can do this, and AdWords shares it, and not mention that, oh, by the way, this is only for Richard Branson or Steven Spielberg to use, maybe you should, mention that. I just think it's worthy of an asterisk if it costs $300,000.
This goes with everything else with Google. This was just poorly marketed. We know how that goes.
Okay,
but
three
this
quick
looks like
comments.
this is more geared towards.
Kevin Bryan, $300,000 for a featured AOA. Maybe someone left off a decimal point somewhere. Unfortunately, not. I don't know if I would sign up for that creepy trip to Dan's house. I guarantee you, Cy, if you send me $300,000, I will arrange for Front Row's finest hostesses to cater to your every whim for a 24-hour period for 90 days. And $300,000 at 1,000 users is $300 per user because math. Thank you, Cy. I appreciate that. And I humbly concede defeat on that point. Okay, so that happened. Any further comments on this exciting new Plus Post feature for HOAs for Donald Trump and all of his friends? Okay.
Come on, Dan, you can stretch this out for another 2 minutes and go on longer than we talked about stories.
You see, the Earth rotates. Okay, so Google Fiber backs Netflix and Comcast peering spat. Before, I just want to do a thing. I just want a couple sentences here. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. Comcast has a new TV ad running, advocating for their partnership or their merging, buying, whatever, with Time Warner Cable, saying that one of the benefits of a Comcast Time Warner Cable merger is there'll be that net neutrality will benefit more Americans. This from the company that basically, I don't know all the terminology, it's peering, but basically throttled Netflix until they coughed up extortion money. This is my opinion, so don't sue me, but this is my legitimate opinion. They basically throttled Netflix based on what I've read, and when Netflix paid them a shitload of money,
In which case you can sue them.
then they could, then all of a sudden, and I saw a chart, here was Netflix before they paid, and then here's Netflix on Comcast after they paid. And Comcast is literally promoting that this merger will be good because more Americans will get net neutrality because Comcast is so for net neutrality. So
Yeah.
this will be my final reference to the term.
No.
Turn
Hang on a
around
second.
and grab your
We have to-
ankles. I'm sorry, Alan, you froze again. Go ahead and restate that, and then you can go ahead.
We
and
have
intro
to
this.
remember, though, why Comcast. We have to remember why Comcast can legitimately state that, and that Comcast is required under a settlement to give all of their subscribers to treat everything on a net neutral basis. So by bringing in more subscribers, that's more subscribers that they are legally bound to treat in a neutral basis.
So it
So
depends
their
on what your
advertising
definition
is
of
actually
is.
false.
So it's what your definition of is. Because net neutrality,
No,
to
come
me,
on.
to the common person, net neutrality does not mean that you have the right to throttle Netflix until you extort them to pay you a bunch of money, so that
They
Netflix has to pay
throttle
twice, once to
Netflix.
send it, once to get it received.
Look,
The same
here's
company
the thing,
that bitches,
and
the
don't get
same
me
company
wrong.
that blacks stations out and says we're not going to pay your exorbitant fees, so we're going to block your station, or you know, and because we don't want to raise the fees, and then they screw the providers. It's outrageous. The golf guy owns a golf station, and Comcast owns a golf channel that's got primetime coverage, and they won't cover the competitive golf station. You can't even get carriage. I mean, this is like robber baron 1920s shit all over again. Go ahead, Alan. Tell us about Google Fiber backs Netflix and Comcast peering spat.
Okay, so basically, in a blog post about Fiverr, they revealed a lot of information about how they work, how they do some things technically, and one of the things they said is they have a peering with Netflix. In fact, they said they go beyond just a simple peering relationship with Netflix. They have Netflix servers in their Fiverr head end. So the distance to travel between Netflix and Google Fiber is approximately the length of a patch cord, which isn't very long. They were talking about how this cost Netflix exactly nothing. And the reason was I'm assuming, from some obvious cost of setting up a server. But in general, pretty close to nothing. And Google
Have we totally just lost Alan?
I believe we did. I wasn't sure if it was my end, so I kept quiet.
Yeah,
I was about to actually check me too.
I've paid $300,000 for this hangout on air.
Alan's gonna have to repeat himself because we lost him about.
Yeah, somebody at Motel 6
in,
owes
I
me
thought.
$300,000 is all I can say. So Alan is frozen. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click to this thing. I'm just going to read this thing so folks can... oh, God, where's the actual post here? Where's the blog post? Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is the blog post. Behind the scenes with Google Fiber, working with content providers to minimize buffering. Editor's note, no one likes buffering, so we're trying to reduce it for our Google Fiber customers. Here's another installment in our Fiber Behind the Scenes series, etc., etc. We've all had the moment where we scratch our heads and ask, why is this video so slow? Unfortunately, there's no single answer to this question. Your video packets of online bits and bytes have to travel a really long way, along with several different networks, just to get to you. And they could be slowed down anywhere. So because we know what you want to stream, that you want to stream videos and browse effortlessly, we've designed our network to minimize buffering. Bringing fiber all the way to your home is only one piece of the puzzle. We also partner with content providers like YouTube, Netflix, and Akamai to make the rest of your video's journey shorter and faster. This doesn't involve any deals to prioritize their video packets over others or otherwise discriminate among internet traffic. We don't do that. This is from Google. Like other internet providers, Google Fiber provides the last mile internet connection to your home. Meanwhile, content providers spend a lot of money, many billions of dollars, building their own networks to transport their content all the way to the last mile connections. In that process, the content may run into bottlenecks. if the congestions between the content provider and our network are slow or congested, that will slow down your access to content no matter how fast your connection is. So that video doesn't get caught up in that in this possible congestion. We invite content providers to hook up their networks directly to ours. This is called peering, and it gives you a more direct connection to the content that you want. We have also worked with services like Netflix so that they can co-locate their equipment in our fiber facilities. What does that mean for you? Usually when you go to Netflix and click on the video you want to watch, the request needs to travel to and from the closest Netflix data center, which may be a round trip of hundreds or thousands of miles. Instead, Netflix has placed their own servers within our facilities in the same place where we keep our own video on demand content. Because the servers are closer to where you live, your content will get to you faster and should be a higher quality. We give companies like Netflix and Akamai free access to our space and power in our facilities. That's actually above and beyond what they should, and probably a PR stunt, to be honest. It'd be very reasonable if they charged them some kind of rent or at least the power. So this is way beyond what they would be expected to do. And they provide their own content servers. We don't make money from peering or co-location, since people usually only stream one video at a time. Video traffic doesn't bog down or change the way we manage our network in any meaningful way, so why not help enable it? But we don't want to charge because it's really a win-win situation. It's also a PR win-win because they're battling Comcast now. It's good for content providers because they can deliver really high-quality streaming video to their customers. For example, because Netflix co-located the servers along with our network, their customers can access full 1080p HD, and for those who own a 4K TV, Netflix in Ultra HD 4K, it's good for us because it saves us money. It's easier to transport video traffic from a local server than it is to transport it from thousands of miles. But most importantly, we do this because it gives fiber users the fastest, most direct route to the internet. That way you can access your favorite shows faster. All in all, these arrangements help you experience the best access to content on the internet, which is the whole point of getting fiber to begin with. So beginning with Cadeas, I mean, obviously this is good PR and awesome for those fiber customers, and another nail in the Comcast non-coffin because they're not going anywhere. What do you think?
I think this is a good idea. I think Google needs to roll out their fiber a lot faster. And yeah, that's it. This is good. Somebody's fighting for net neutrality. Pam, what do you think?
You want to know what I really think?
Yeah, what's up?
Oh,
I think it's.
Let me
I
hit
think
the DVR. Let me hit the DVR. Hang on, Pam.
I think it's bullshit that content providers throttle service at all. For example, I have Verizon FiOS, right?
Well, they're content providers or service providers?
Service providers. Sorry.
I just wanted to be clear here.
No.
Thank you.
Last mile.
I have Verizon FiOS, and you know, I got pretty good. I thought my internet was pretty fast and pretty cool and everything. And when I went to pay the bill, they said, "Hey, get a free month of our Quantum service." And so, and then it's only $10 extra a month or whatever. And so I said, "Okay, I'll get a free month." And within 15 minutes, my speed doubled. You know, as soon as I click the button or whatever, it says it will be active or whatever. So, you know, Verizon is able to give me faster speed, but you know, they're charging for each level, right? And I could even go faster. You know, I could even get more for an extra $20 a month.
Well, here's the thing. Go ahead and finish, Pam. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that, you know, Google Fiber is offering this blazing speed or whatever, but the service provider's like, well, you know, look, we're not all in with this streaming thing. We're gonna throttle them because we want you to buy our cable service instead. So we're going to gank your internet so that you can't use any of the competitive products. I just don't think that's right. You know.
Well, there are two things.
Am I speaking the right? Am I speaking about the right thing?
Yes, you
I mean,
are.
Okay. Right.
There are two things here that I want to address on that one. The first is I completely agree with your fundamental second point, and that's that what the cable operators are doing is they're fundamentally trying to mess up the internet, and it's not just about streaming. It's about a lot of things. Your first point, however, I got to take a little bit of issue with you on. I think it's perfectly reasonable for Verizon and all of the others, including Google, I'll point out, to offer tiered service and to have the faster tiers more expensive. I think that the amount that they're charging for the higher tiers is batshit crazy, but I think it's legitimate for them to do so. And the reason why is because it does cost them money. I mean, you know, it does cost them money to support and to field higher capacity. And if everyone upgraded to that higher capacity, they would have to upgrade their backbone capacity as well. That said, it's nonsense what they're pricing and how much they're pricing and how they're pricing it. That's sheer nonsense. The fact that they are doing pricing level to do different levels of how much as part of their network management, that's reasonable, I think. The concept is reasonable, the implementation is not.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's okay to offer tiered service, but it shouldn't be 75, 100, and 150.
No,
dollars a month.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
The concept of net neutrality is democracy on the provider end. In other words, it's reasonable to say if I was an ISP, and I used to be an internet service provider, I used to run RMA Online, I started it and ran it, Randolph-Macon County. We were the #1 internet service provider in Warren County back in the early 90s. We charged X amount, but if you're offering dial-up service versus a cable level service versus DSL versus like gigabit fiber, it would be reasonable to say that the dial-up service, 64K, would be a lower price point than the gigabit service delivered via fiber because your costs are different. That's reasonable, and it's very transparent. You have a chart. You know, if you want this speed, you're going to pay this much. What net neutrality is about that if some kid in Nairobi posts something on his blog, that he should have the same right to be seen by everybody at the same speed as somebody who is in New York City. And when you start having situations where like Netflix has to pay to not be throttled by Comcast, again, that's my opinion based on the stories that I've read, lawyers.
Dan, can I cut you off there for a second?
Sure,
Before
sure.
you get into this, though. Of course I can cut you off. On the other hand, though, you have to remember that that data provider also needs to work with an ISP, and they're paying some amount for their bandwidth to go out. So you use the kid in Nairobi example. You know, is he, assuming he's hosting his blog himself, which is a bad assumption, but let's assume that for a moment, he needs to get that blog seen somehow. So he's going to be paying for an ISP connection. If he wants to do it dirt cheap, he's doing it with a modem. Okay? Whereas, you know, the guy next door might be doing it with a server that's more directly attached and's got, you know, 10 or 100 megabits per second service to his blog. Which blog are you going to go to? Now, the catch is that where net neutrality comes into play here is that the ISPs are also picking favorites, not based on anything that I'm doing. You know, they would then turn around and say, well, hey, we've got the perfect solution for that. We'll make it so that you do have a choice. You, the data provider, do have influence about, you know, how much gets spent, you know, how much people are willing to get access to you by how much you spend. just you're spending it directly with us instead of with your ISP. That's the difference here, and that's where things start getting really fishy.
Correct, but the power of the internet historically has been it's democratic. If two kids at Stanford came up with a better search engine, then they could topple Yahoo, and that's exactly what happened, and that's the story of Google.
But it took them money to do so.
It did, but
It's not.
it's about whether they're paying. If you create a service, Alan, if you create like you're writing apps, Cadeas writes apps, so you guys have to host your apps. As more people have now gotten access to Glass, your apps have probably gotten more downloads and are more popular, and so you may have to purchase a bigger server to deliver that stuff and to manage those things. So you're paying a server company to deliver, and if you go from a small community, let's say you had a small dating site or social network just for your town, Smallville, USA, then you're gonna have to pay. You have one server. You're paying GoDaddy or you're paying Amazon Web Services, whatever, and you're paying $200 a month. And then all of a sudden you start to become MySpace or Facebook or Foursquare, and it becomes really popular. Then you've got to build out a server farm, or you've got to go to Amazon Web Services and buy a bunch of stuff. And that's what most folks do. So you're paying a lot of money to transmit your stuff, right? These are transmission and receiver things. So you're already paying to transmit it. The what they call the last mile providers, the internet service providers like Verizon or Comcast or Time Warner Cable, Cox Cable, etc. If you have to pay them, it's almost like you have to pay to put the stamp on the envelope, and then you have to bribe the mailman or the mail lady to deliver the envelope to the house. So you're paying twice.
Well,
Net neutrality says that net neutrality says that AT&T, that Ford Motor Company or Cadbury, has the same right to mail an envelope at the exact same cost that the kid in Georgia has to mail a letter to his grandma. And if you start saying that you have to pay to get that delivered, then Cadbury and Ford can afford to do it, and the kid in Georgia cannot afford to do it. And that's my main net neutrality argument, although it's could not be more poorly stated. Go ahead, Alan.
Two things. The first is you're putting me in the really, really awkward position of defending Comcast, which I really don't want to do. Okay, so let's make that perfectly clear. Comcast are scum. They are slimy, and what they want to do is bad. Okay, so now that we have that perfectly clear.
And they've been fined for their behavior in the past, as a former SNL host turned senator pointed out.
Now that we have that perfectly clear, let me also make clear why your analogy keeps falling apart, which it does. You keep talking about, they've got this expense and this expense and this expense already, and these are all transmitter expenses. Why should they also have a receiver expense? Well, if you think about it, no, I guess they don't in that case. It's not entirely uncommon for you to have the transmitter also bear the receiver expenses. So if they're paying for one thing, why aren't they also paying for the other end of it? You made the analogy of if I'm already sending something via the post office, it's bribing the postman. Well, that's not quite true. The analogy falls apart there. It's more like, if I could already pay the post office, why am I instead paying UPS to deliver it? Okay? And I am. And many companies are paying UPS to actually visit their site to drop packages off. So this is not entirely unheard of.
I don't think so. I disagree. My point is, it's always been democratic. The best stuff flows to the top. If you come up with a really cool website...
Dan!
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, Dan, I'm not arguing that it isn't democratic. And it's not clear to me how this vile, contemptible behavior of Comcast isn't also democratic. If they charge everybody the exact same amount to send data to them, that's perfectly democratic.
But they don't.
That's perfectly equal. But they could.
They could, but the point
No,
is,
Dan, sure they do.
they're presenting
They
a
charge
new barrier
everybody.
to entry. It used to be you could,
No,
you can create a
barrier
service.
to entry is not the same as charging charging the same exorbitant amount. If they, the problem with the Netflix
So
precedent
if you want to
is
create
that they
the next
now are able to turn
MySpace,
to everybody else and say, you want to peer with us, here's how much you pay.
so if you want to create a website that you think is really cool, now you've got to negotiate. You've got to spend the money to negotiate agreements with a 1,000 various internet service providers in the country and 30,000 around the world in order to all of a sudden we're back to you've got to sleep with the fat cat at the record label to get your song played on the radio. And that's what the internet conquered, and now we're back to that. This is
But the
preserving
internet
the
didn't-
legacy model.
But the internet didn't conquer that, Dan. You don't think Google doesn't have a relationship with every single country that it has a presence in? You know they do.
No, but if when they discover you on Google and then they click on your website and it's throttled because you haven't paid them, then the kid in Nairobi is at a disadvantage because even though he's got the best killer new idea, the new light bulb, the new Edison
Dan,
project,
Dan,
it's not going to matter
Dan.
because he doesn't have $10 billion to pay for lobbyists and whatever to get
Dan.
it on there.
The problem is your analogy falls apart from the beginning. He was already at a competitive disadvantage because he couldn't pay for the uplink charges, he couldn't pay for the server charges, he couldn't pay for the various other tons of expenses that he would have to do to go against Google. He couldn't pay for that up front. So adding one more expense to that is going to, irreversibly
It's not one
bury
more
his idea.
expense. It's all
It
of a
is one
sudden.
more-
It used to be that until it was thrown out of court. It used to be that all traffic had to be treated equally, and that if you were a major player like Google, or if you were the brand new search engine that Alan is experimenting to produce, that you were both equal. So you had an equal playing field. Now, obviously, Google has name ID, and they're
But
the
you did-
incumbent.
no,
But if
Dan,
your product was better,
Dan.
that's how Google conquered Yahoo. If it was
But
if
here's-
it was today and Yahoo was this big corporation, and Google was still two kids at Stanford, then I wonder if their project would have worked. If they would have had to negotiate contracts with thousands of different ISPs around the world, if they would have even been a thing. That's the fear. I mean, the internet's filled with stories of people like Psy or Justin Bieber or all these people who just the kid in Journey who the Filipino kid who was discovered on the internet. It's always been democratic. You pay to get your upload thing, but once it's up there, anybody can download it, and you don't have to pay to get them to be able to download it. You're literally paying for Netflix has to pay the mailman to deliver their packages, and they have to pay the postage to send them. And I don't think that's a bad analogy. And you're asleep now.
Well, I'm asleep for a reason, because you've repeated yourself 5 times without listening to me, any of those 5 times, but that's fine, let's move on.
Okay. I've become Craig.
No, Dan, here's the problem. I'm not, the Nairobi kid is already at a competitive disadvantage. His disadvantage isn't that he needs to negotiate deals with everybody. Even under a perfectly level playing field, he was under a disadvantage. And it's not because he doesn't have the name recognition. It's not because he didn't take out enough AdWords to buy into his Hangout on Air. It's because he's running it at the other end of a phone line on a 486 computer that he's got, running in his own shop. Okay? 2 kids from Stanford didn't build Google. A massive check built Google. Otherwise, it would have been two kids from Stanford still running an experiment in one of their dorm rooms.
I totally agree that Sergey and Larry, who we're referring to, these two kids, that they could not have simply bought a $30 a month domain from GoDaddy or whatever was prevalent at the time and launched Google.
It was $75 from Network Solutions.
Okay, so they could not have bought a simple hosting plan and launched Google and had it scale. They did have to eventually, very quickly on, they had to get servers, to accommodate the growth in traffic, because their strength was the algorithm, and it worked great, and it was superior to what else was out there. The point is, they did have expenses as they scaled to put it out on the internet, but once they did that, the reason they had to spend that money to scale was because once they were out there and people found out about them and they became popular because they worked, that everyone wanted to use them. But they only had to spend money to send the traffic. They didn't have to spend money to bribe the people who are the last mile providers and negotiate all these contracts. And that's a bigger barrier to entry.
That's a slightly better argument, but only a slightly better argument. Okay? Why the hell am I defending Comcast? I really want to know this. I'll be honest, because it's pissing me off. You know why it's pissing me off? Because a lot of people are telling them they're wrong, and they're telling them they're wrong for the wrong reason. Okay? It isn't about barriers to entry, because honestly, if Google has had to pay their way through lots of barriers to entry on the receiving side. Go look at how much money they're dealing with in China. Go look at what they're going to have to do in the European Union because of how they've worked there. Okay, they've spent tons and tons of money on the receiving side already. It is not a totally invalid argument that if you're the person who is jacking up expenses on the receiving side, that you should have to pay some fair share of that. Okay?
And I made this point with my devil's advocate thing, I think last week, when I said, if 60% of Comcast traffic is YouTube and Netflix, then they're, and now Netflix is getting ready to go to 4K. Comcast is going to have to spend a fortune to upgrade their infrastructure, I assume, to accommodate this greater bandwidth. Is it unreasonable for them to expect Netflix, who's profiting from this, to throw some money toward Comcast to help subsidize that? That's not an unreasonable argument to make. So this is not a cut and dry black and white issue. I get that, and I made that point last week.
Right. And then my response to that analogy was, how much did the auto manufacturers pay to upgrade the roads? And the answer is none.
And would there be autos if they had to pay for the roads for them? And that's the fear.
So then we're back to Craig's argument that the government should pay to upgrade
we won't even discuss the problems with Craig's argument, because I said I didn't feel like arguing tonight.
You've been nothing but arguing all night.
Well, just because you're wrong doesn't mean I shouldn't be telling you that you're wrong.
I'm right, and Alan's the other thing. I'm just more polite about it. You can bring your kids back into the room now. All right, so we're good on that, I guess, right? Any other thoughts?
We've now spoken about it for almost as long as we've spoken about stories.
All right, next up is, are we on Behind the Scenes with Fiber, or are we on satellite?
No, it's the same story. That was the same story.
Okay, so next up, I don't know anything about this. Somebody else added this. Google to buy satellite startup Skybox. What's the story there?
I don't know. I haven't read it either, but I assume this is.
Did Pam put that in?
I don't know. Yeah, I assume it's at
yes,
least
I put
somewhat
everything
related
in.
to.
Pam, tell us about Skybox. We're dying. We're on the edge of our seats here.
Oh crap! That means I have to open up a window and read something.
You just
didn't-
randomly put stories in?
Yes, I went to Google. I went to news. I typed in Google,
Oh my
and I
God.
started pasting in stories that are
I guess
relevant.
that works out for Google Plus Week, huh?
So what I do every week. I'm not supposed to read them. I'm just supposed to populate them.
What? And be fruitful. So, all right. So, in the next 30 seconds,
just-
we'll all become experts on this story. It looks
They
like
just, basically they just bought this company to bolster.
Oh no, we don't know if they bought them. They're because Skybox has declined comment. So this was like breaking today.
is Google ready to plunk down
Oh,
$1
it
billion
does have a
to
question
Yeah,
acquire a
and it
company?
is a satellite. And it is a satellite
some of-
company. They have a satellite.
It's a Mountain View-based Skybox Imaging with its own satellite cluster that specializes in data analytics and highly detailed images and video of Earth. I don't know what the hell else an Earth
The
satellite
article
would-
title does have a question mark on
Do.
it, so this was more clickbait than anything.
Yeah, according to a report in TechCrunch, Skybox. Well, that's settled then. Skybox was valued between 500 million and 700 million. Nobody's commenting. So this is this
It has
is
a question mark. It's clickbait.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is 3 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Word of Google's alleged interest in owning satellite imagery. Okay, so it's all background after that. So this is nothing. Yeah. All right. So but it's a nice red image there. Looks like the Nile River, or the Thames or something. I don't know what the hell it is. Oh, it's a photo of Saga Prefecture and an unpronounceable town in Japan from Skybox Imaging's SkySat-1 satellite. So, all right, so we're all excited about this incredibly innovative announcement about, or it could be no announcement
Announcement
at all.
or lack thereof.
You
Right.
heard it here first.
Absolutely. Or we deny any knowledge of this story that we never said it. So that happened. Okay. All right, let's go to Pam's next story. Oh my God. Okay.
You didn't say they had to be true.
No, I did not issue that official caveat. That's not in the terms of service for being a co-host here. We adore Pam. I'm just trolling her for fun. Okay. So now you can talk to Google on your computer and it's pretty good. So they're talking about have they improved the I bet of all the underutilized features on Google, I'm guessing this may be at the top or very close to the top of the list, because I don't know anybody who, unless you have an accessibility issue, right? But most of the time I would type stuff. If I were handcuffed, I might use this feature. If I had access to a laptop
Pam, do you
in
have any
jail.
comment on that?
Go ahead, Alan.
I just want to know if Pam has any comment on you being handcuffed.
No, but I'm sure she'd appreciate some photos. If that ever comes to pass, I'll provide Pam with some watermarked exclusive photos.
You know, the truth is I don't even think he's still when he's sleeping. I don't know if there would ever be an opportunity to get him pinned down long enough to handcuff him.
Oh my God, that would be torture in my case. Okay, so it says need another reason to chat up your computer. Google's got one for Chrome users, courtesy of. Wow, this is on Time Magazine, a typo. Courtesy of, it should be a noteworthy browser update. Here I am. Who am I to copy edit Time that landed earlier this week? All you needed to do is speak a trigger phrase while in Google. We should get Craig on the show to do a trigger phrase.
I
'cause he's good at that.
I particularly like how this author had never installed Chrome before. So that was his first step in the process.
And he's.
And am I confused, or hasn't this been around for months? Maybe a year?
I didn't think it was a year. I think
I think it's
I remember
over a
it being
year.
around for a while.
It's definitely.
I didn't-
But I think
I didn't I didn't know you could talk to your computer.
I think the difference is that before you needed to explicitly click on the microphone, and now the microphone is hot the moment you open the page.
So it gets
Yeah,
an
but-
article in Time magazine.
Yeah,
Are you
this
kidding me?
far along. This far along.
Did it cost $300,000?
Maybe so.
Next time the Google people call me and ask me if I want to do a survey or something, I'm gonna say it's $300,000.
And who paid for this? Was it the sender or the receiver?
Indeed, both. That's $600,000, and I'm gonna bill it to Comcast.
Next story.
All right, next story. Yes. Google punished. Ooh, Google. This is. Oh, wow. Google punished eBay for. I'm looking at our topic document here, by the way, which is publicly posted now. So you can now talk to Google on your computer, and it's pretty good. Yes, Google punished eBay for bad SEO practices, but it wasn't part of the Panda update. So tell us these tantalizing details. As I feign that I actually haven't read this.
I don't even know what Panda is.
And you put it in?
Yep.
Panda is the code name for the latest search and ranking algorithm. It's referred to as Panda. I think even Google refers to it as Panda at this point.
It's also
Panda
a popular
4.0
bear.
or something like that.
Yeah, there are various versions of it. They keep upgrading it and tweaking it and making it at least somewhat officially known when they've done so.
All right, so I'm going to look at this real quick. I'm going to summarize this article as I put it on my screen.
The
There's a
summary, I
picture.
assume, is if you read the title.
Yeah, this is a stock photo of some sort of origami panda thing. Panda is Google's name for updates to a search algorithm meant to improve the quality of search results by increasing rankings for sites with quality content while penalizing those with thin, low-quality content or duplicate pages meant to boost results. There's been a lot of speculation over the past few days about whether Google's dropped the hammer on some of eBay's search engine optimization tactics as part of its most recent Panda update. A report from Marketing Land shows that eBay's visibility and organic search results may have dropped by about 50% by some measures. I'm actually a supporter. I'm definitely a supporter of this sort of thing because I see these, and I don't have a problem with them being very public about it because the whole point, I mean, Google's main money is from their ads on their search page and also from their broader network. And their general counsel, whose name escapes me, I'm embarrassed to say, I saw an interview with him, and he said that one of the first decisions they make that was really, really important was when they set up the ad network, it would go out not just on their site, but anybody else could embed their ads. And of course now they're, $12-15 billion a quarter. So I'm totally for them preserving the basis of their whole enterprise, which is the quality of results. Because I referenced that they dethroned Yahoo earlier in the program, and they have to preserve the integrity of Google search results because it's a constant battle to beat people who try to game the system. And that's why they're so often reclusive about what their algorithm is, because they don't want people to be able to game the system. So if they're very, very specific about what you can and can't do, as much as that would be helpful to legitimate, honest people, it also would be helpful to the scammers. So it's like, you got to piss off the good people, which sucks, to prevent the bad people from being able to game your system. So anyway, any thoughts on this story now that I've done enough BS for you guys to read it? Okay.
No,
You
I
guys
think
are
we all
tired.
totally don't care about eBay anymore.
Yeah, but we should care about Google doing stuff to battle the SEO experts. Does that make sense? Yeah,
You
SEO
put that in
experts
quotes.
because
The so-called,
SEO
experts.
or
Um,
I refer to them as snake oil salesmen, but SEO experts will do. If you
because
prefer.
because businesses hire SEO experts to
Now she's
help
obligated
to help them get better search results. And if stuff like this could catch honest businesses up in the fray if they hire people who utilize tactics that are frowned upon by Google. So Google, it would also behoove Google to maybe tell everyone what's okay and what isn't. And I don't even think they do that. I mean, the whole search thing is like one big giant freaking secret. And part of the reason is because Google wants to have control over those search results.
It's two pronged though, Pam. We both know that if you're buying, if you want to buy,
control,
go
that
ahead.
control has gotten them in trouble with Europe before.
It's a sword that they wield and that bites them and at the same time, because we both know that if let's say what's something that someone buys online frequently, envelopes or whatever it is, if you typed double window envelopes in Google, the first result that pops up, if you could go from being non-existent to being the top result on the Google search result page, right? That could be $1 billion a year in revenue for you, right? So there's big money in gaming that system. So they're constantly in battle, and there are major algorithm changes announced periodically, and very frequent, probably multiple times a day, changes that occur without any fanfare. Because they're constantly in a battle to people who are trying to create artificial weight for their pages to make them appear more prominent and popular than they are. And then Google finds out about it and they close it, but they don't necessarily want to promote that because they don't want to encourage other people to do the same thing. So it's a constant battle. At the same time, they wield a lot of power, no doubt, and in the wrong hands that could be abused, and that's the allegation from Europe. But the bottom line is, I can't see how you call it a monopoly when anybody if they can come up with a better search engine, they can use it. It's not like fiber where it's not practical for multiple people to run a fiber to everyone's home. It's not practical for multiple people to run water to your home. But anyway, any other thoughts on this?
It's not practical for multiple people to create search engines in order to get organic results either.
Isn't Facebook trying it? Isn't
Yeah, but I can't do it. I have to utilize one of the services that are out there. So I have to pick a search engine of some kind in order to navigate the internet. So it's either Yahoo, Bing, or I guess I could sign into Baidu or Google, right? So they are in charge.
Yeah. Only because they're better, because more people use them.
But that's what I'm saying. You said it's not, they're not like a utility where,
if you get pissed off,
limited. I am limited.
If I get pissed off at Comcast, I have no option. My option is dial-up or Comcast, right? So I have a virtual monopoly. If I get pissed off at Google, I could use Bing. I don't know if you can still ask Jeeves or whatever. I could go on Facebook and search. I imagine there's a few others that are probably not as funded well and suck and would give me less relevant results. Google's just better at what they do, but anybody is free to create their own. I think the government of Iran announced they were going to create their own internal search engine. I'm sure North Korea has something. I have not used the North Korea search engine, but it's not a true monopoly if there's no barrier to entry other than your brains. A monopoly is either imposed by an exclusive contract or by practicality, and it's I don't know. Europe would have a different view on this. Okay, so next up is eBay hacked. Change your password. What happened there?
eBay's password database was hacked. Change it. They sent you email. Do it now. Have a nice night. Next subject.
Okay, next up, Alan has had his tea and
I just
coffee.
changed mine.
I don't think I've logged into eBay in God knows how long. Okay, coming up on our Android Week on Monday, which is at, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Monday night for our Android
Well,
Week.
I think you actually might be wrong this week, Dan, because Monday is Memorial Day.
Oh, maybe we
So the
should
chance of
maybe
us
we should do
actually
it
pulling off the
Tuesday.
show on Memorial Day is low.
So maybe we should reschedule. Well, look for us on Monday or Tuesday at 9ish. If you're, east. If you're, one of those California people, smoking whatever it is they smoke, then,
That would be 6-ish.
6ish.
Heavy on the ish.
On Monday or Tuesday. So we'll revisit that, yeah, because I know that Alan and I specifically will be attending several patriotic events on Monday, and maybe I'm unable to speak now. All right, so coming up Monday is or Tuesday. Coming up on our Android Week is our two stories: 9 new features in Google Plus for Android. Anything especially noteworthy we should point out before we go in depth on this on Monday or Tuesday, Alan?
Harold leaked some of it earlier, and some of these 9 features include stories, for example. Auto Awesome Movies gets a hat tip or something like that. But the big feature is that they totally gutted and redid the entire user interface. So we'll be talking about that on Monday with our usual calm, level-headed analysis.
Tuesday.
And near
Whatever.
unanimous agreement. Okay, so also there's I'm not sure I've heard of this, Google Project Tango tablet, and the subheader is Think 3D. What's this about?
Well, I hope you've heard of Project Tango because
I've heard
we
of
covered
Project
it on
Tango.
the
I've
show a
certainly
few months back.
Heard of it.
From what you certainly do remember, Dan, Project Tango is Google X's project to explore new and much more sophisticated sensors. And they're proposing putting them in cell phones simply because they think that's what we actually carry around. So these are some experimental things, some things they're trying out. These sensors apparently will be able to do better 3D mapping of your environment, if true. The rumor that I personally am most interested in is that they ordered a limited run of a tablet with some of these sensors, with the speculation that this may be the sequel, the heir to the Nexus Q. So we shall see what we shall see coming up in a month. And we'll talk about this on Monday night or Tuesday night.
It's appearing more likely Tuesday night. So that happened. I will. I'm going to start the How was your Google Plus week? And my week was busy, and it's getting busier. We're on a big hiring spree in Northern Virginia, right? And we've got these websites. So I just got this thing. I'm gonna tell you about business and then news stuff with the newspaper. So I got this really cool thing. Mike McCool, who's a buddy of mine for like 20 years, owns used to be National Cassette. I'm gonna do a story on him. He used to own National Cassette in Front Royal, Virginia, and he made cassette tapes for sales things, motivational speakers, evangelists, whoever wanted cassettes. And so now he's into printing, and then he went to CDs and DVDs. But he did this wonderful brochure, which is a sales presentation brochure for our stuff, for the Area Guides thing. It's really cool, and I'm really impressed and excited about it. And it's awesome. And then we're covering this local story with Tariq Salahi, who you may remember as being the alleged, I have to say, alleged White House gatecrasher, whose wife was allegedly kidnapped and then ended up running off with Neil Sean, who's the lead guitar player for Journey. He's running for Congress, previously ran for governor, and I think there's a TV show involved in these campaigns. But he's being sued because by his neighbors because or I think it's a suit, or anyway, he's doing an Airbnb thing in his house. So for $99 a night, you can rent Tariq Salahi's house, and he might be in there, and you can sip wine together, whatever. But it's a fascinating story, and the county, this gets to where you're allowed to do this. This is kind of like the Tesla story, and the Uber thing, where it's an innovative technology, and they said that he had to get a conditional use permit. The local zoning thing said unanimously he's fine to rent out part of his house to a tenant. It's his primary residence. But then the Board of Supervisors, which is obviously much more political, said no, he can't do it. But then, of course, he's a national known person. But then he I looked up on Airbnb alone, and in Front Royal, Warren County, Virginia, there's like 60 or 80 people who are doing the exact same thing he's doing. So are all they can, there's over 1,000 in Fairfax County, and like tens of thousands in Virginia doing this. So are they all breaking the law? Do you not have a right, if you own a home, to rent out your home? He's not selling liquor or selling breakfast. He's just renting out part of the house or all the house. It's primary residence.
It's illegal for me to do it. I cannot.
Well, that's to be determined, I think, because we're going to see this become an issue. If you own a home, what rights do you have? Now, if you have signed a homeowner's agreement that forbids it, that's a different story, because you can't enter contracts that would violate your constitution, that would overrule your constitutional amendments, right? Or rights.
So, but Dan, you're saying that it's legal for you to write a contract that breaks the law, but not write a contract that breaks another contract. You realize that does make no sense whatsoever.
No,
right?
no. I said it's okay. You can enter a contract that would otherwise would mean that you can't exercise all your constitutional rights. In other words, like you have the right to freedom of speech, but I could enter a contract if I signed on with CNN to do a show where I would not say anything controversial. They could fire me. Under ordinary circumstances, it'd be, a tortuous offense if someone punished me for my freedom of speech. But you can enter into a contract, so you can sign a homeowner's agreement where you agree that you won't allow, certain things that, if absent a homeowner's agreement, the county would be unable to enforce.
The problem is zoning laws have been upheld multiple times by the Supreme Court as they are not unconstitutional takings as long as you follow certain guidelines in drafting them. And I would have to assume that Front Royal, Virginia has followed those guidelines.
Population 15,000. Maybe or maybe not. But
I live in an area that has a smaller population than that, and I know we follow those guidelines because I helped draft those guidelines.
Well, he's actually not in the homeowners association because his.
No, we're not talking. We're not talking homeowners association. HOAs are bullshit. Okay, I know why they're there. We're talking
reason
zoning.
This is news.
We're talking zoning, and you said he was approved by zoning.
No, he was denied. The board of, it's not the zoning appeals board. It's the planning commission or whatever. They voted unanimously that he absolutely met the law. That there's no law in Warren County that says you cannot rent your home out to a tenant, be it on an annual basis or a nightly basis. and there are
Okay, so
60 to
just-
80 people in the county doing that. If you just go to Airbnb and do a search, you'll see there's 60 to 80 people doing this exact same thing. But then,
Okay, so we have 60 to 80 people actually following the law in Front Royal, Virginia.
including Tarek Salahi, in my opinion, but and the zoning board said that Tarek Salahi was absolutely within his legal rights to do it, no problem. They voted unanimously that way. Then the board of supervisors, cognizant of the controversy around this person, because of, I mean, I'm not even going to get into that, voted 4-1 against it.
Okay,
And
so
so
they
now-
changed the law.
Now he's suing his neighbors. This is not news yet because I got the lawsuit today, this afternoon. He's just a few hours ago. He's suing his neighbors now for $15 million for tortuous interference and et cetera, et cetera. And
No. See, here's the thing. Okay, if I were him, and I'm not, I would contact a lawyer to find out if this is now an unconstitutional taking. Because if the Board of Supervisors changed the law, and if they changed the law in such a way that it can only target him, that it was specifically targeted against him, okay, then they've unconstitutionally prevented him from exercising his property rights, and his property rights are constitutionally protected.
his argument is that he's not required to have a conditional use permit because there's no existing thing that he's violating. He's in an agricultural zoning area. One neighbor has a horse business there, and somebody else, and he's
But
not
here's the
an
thing.
inn. He's not a bed and breakfast, and it's his
Here's the
primary
thing.
residence.
Here's the thing. I don't know your zoning codes. I'm not going to try to speak to your zoning codes. Okay? If you had a competent authority that said that he had the legal right to do so, and the Board of Supervisors is, in essence, it sounds like, now I don't know exactly what happened, but it sounds like they passed a law that specifically targeted him and his property. That is an unconstitutional taking.
Correct. And passing a law is not the proper term because what they did was they said that he had to get a conditional use permit, and then they denied it. But the effect,
Well,
the impact
here's
is
the
the
thing.
same thing. They're specifically targeting him because of his
No.
notoriety. And let me
I'm-
throw
I'm
this
not-
caveat in here first, Alan, that the neighbors who were pushing for this, who hate his guts apparently, they asked for a temporary restraining order against him in the circuit court, and the circuit court judge looked at it and said that it appeared that he wasn't breaking the law and that he would lose a bunch of money if they stopped him from doing it, and that there was no sign that there was causing any problem, so there was no loss of potential income on their side, that this is like creating a problem, a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. And he told them initially that he would weigh on it, and that it seemed that if he granted the restraining order, it would be under the condition that they would agree to compensate him for any loss of income, because it seemed that he would win in the end. And then he ended up just coming back and saying he denied it. So the circuit court judge says he thinks it's legal, and the planning commission says unanimously that it's fine, but the supervisors, in a political decision, in my opinion, denied it. And in essence, that they're saying that 60 to 80 other people and millions of people around the country are all violating the law. So I think this could be a big deal. This could be a big deal in a few days.
No, Dan. Whoa. Dan, you just extrapolated this to millions of people incorrectly. Okay, so let's rein it in first. Let's focus on your 80 people here.
No, because their
Now-
argument is that a county does not have the right to regulate what you can do with your home if you want to rent to a tenant.
Whose argument?
Tarek Salahi's
Airbnb?
argument is that if you own a home, you have the right to rent the house out. You don't have the
Okay,
right to
that's false.
serve alcohol. You don't have the right to
let's-
sell food or run a business,
No.
but you can rent your home out especially if you're the primary resident the whole time. It's your
Okay.
home. It's not a second, third home. That's an
That's
apartment
false.
building.
That's false. You do not have absolute property rights. Now, presumably, you do have a number of property rights, and one of them is the ability to rent your house. However, a lot of jurisdictions have defined boarding houses so that it would be covered, and those are legal. Now, I don't know in your particular case whether it is or not. Depends on your local zoning codes. It depends on what your state allows. Depends on a whole lot of factors.
Also
So
note that in Virginia, which is a very conservative state, that we're talking about a county, not a town or a city. Like if you have a city of Richmond where you might have slums, I could understand there would be
Sorry, and
a different set of
also
rules.
I also should have said your local jurisdiction. However, I'm not sure I want to prolong this conversation too much longer.
But it's just that
My-
this is a rural county. It's an agricultural zone thing. Do you really want that county to be able to say that this citizen, but the other 80 people are fine, but this citizen can't rent his house out? And what kind
No.
of slippery slope are we on there?
Well, no, you don't. And in fact, if they did so, I would maintain, mind you, I am not a lawyer. I'm not versed in your local, your state or your local zoning regulations. But I have a little bit of knowledge about zoning law, very, very little bit of knowledge about zoning law. And one could make the argument that the way they behaved is an unconstitutional taking, that it has unconstitutionally denied a person legal access to their property. And in doing so, that is a constitutional violation without proper remuneration. That's unconstitutional.
Okay, my final thing is if you're curious about this, if you want to see it, just go to Airbnb, look up Warren County, Virginia, and you'll see one that says like something like Cheers, and the photo has like, old arcade games or whatever, and it's Tariq Salahi, the alleged White House gate crasher, Real Housewives of Washington D.C. Person. Disclosure: I was on the show one episode for like 5 seconds. And we're covering the story. So it was just that was my week. So that happened. Okay, so Pam Adger, as she raises her head in disgust at me, I'm sure. Pam Adger, the weather here was wonderful. How was it in Menifee? How's your drought going? And how was your week?
The weather this week was freezing cold. As opposed to last week, which was boiling hot. That's just springtime in Menifee.
What is freezing cold? Can you define that? For us, it'd be like -5 degrees. What's freezing cold in California?
Mid 70s.
Okay, I just wanted to get some perspective there. So freezing cold is like you had to you had to put on any garment at all. It's freezing cold. Okay.
So yeah, the weather wasn't that great. I've been sick all week with a cold of some kind of cough thing. Other than that, not much has gone on. So I'm just surviving, I guess. So yeah, definitely nothing as exciting as Dan's week. So anyway, how about yours, Michael?
Well, it's been a slow week for me because I'm still recovering from my surgery. But I did
We
hire.
noticed you shaved, though.
Yep, and you're home.
I got rid of the beard and I'm home. So, well, I've been home now for a couple weeks. But I did a kid from the neighborhood to come and help me put in my garden. So I got my vegetables in, and I'm just waiting for them to grow. And we're having a thunderstorm tonight, so there's plenty of water.
How are you feeling?
I feel generally okay, but my incision hurts. So when I walk too much, if I have a shirt tucked in, my shirt rubs on the incision and that hurts. By the end of the day, I'm ready to get out of my clothes and lie in the bed.
Do not get a cold.
No, I hope not.
Well, it's good to have you with us,
Thank you.
as opposed to the alternative. You're lucky you were in Frankfurt, or you were in the suburbs of Frankfurt, right?
Right.
So
But not in China, which was the point.
yeah. So if you were in China, it'd be like, Mike was a great guy. He was so nice.
There'd be
His
a
si-
memorial.
His sister lives on. We have a
there'd
nice
be a
HOA.
memorial
It'd be the
spot.
first
Yeah.
HOA funeral. I was in the first HOA surgery. I could be in the first HOA funeral. But so you were in
You're
Frankfurt.
really cheering us up here tonight, Dan. He's here. He's feeling better. Let's not change it, okay?
Cadeas Kalut in Newport Beach, California. Let's look at his profile picture for just a moment there. And I'll append,
guess he-
while I'm waiting to see if he can unmute or whatever, or race to the stand, I'll just point out that one of the things in his $15 million lawsuit against his neighbors is partially it's defamation of character.
And we're
one of
not
the-
talking about Cadeas' suit against his neighbors, right?
Correct. Although
he
that's
is-
next. But one of the suits, Alan, is that they made one of those Hitler memes where they take that scene from the movie about Hitler, and he alleges that his neighbors made a Hitler meme on YouTube and references it. So it's a whole. I mean, it's like, I mean, this is like made for
I don't know,
TMZ. I'm telling
I was
you,
with the guy.
you heard it here first because I've got the thing before anybody else does, and I bet in like 2 or 3 days this could be like on all the cool sites, and you heard it first on Google Plus Week.
I don't know. I was with the guy until he criticized him for that. Now I'm with the neighbors. Cadeas, how was your Google Plus week?
I'm going to tell him I actually thought the Hitler meme was funny. And I would be honored if someone did one about me. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. Okay, so Cadeas Kalut in Newport Beach, California. How was your week, sir?
Temperature to 86 degrees.
Poor baby.
Okay, how was my Google Plus week? Sorry about that, guys. My Google Plus week was interesting to say the least. I did a lot of posting this week that I usually don't get to do. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting. But other than that, pretty bland. So, Pam, how was your Google Plus week?
We already did, Pam. I'm the last one.
Can you rephrase that, Alan?
No.
This is a family
You're
program.
Pam.
Oh my
As
God.
everyone realizes what Dan said.
I
and
don't know
what
what
I
you.
said.
This has been Google Plus Week. Thank you for watching. Alan
Oh,
Furstenberg,
good.
how was your Google Plus Week, sir?
Damn good. I took the train to DC yesterday morning and afternoon, so I can attend a glass design sprint and question and answer period.
Oh man, I
Um,
wish you told me that. Or you did tell me that, and I forgot.
Yes,
I could have
yes,
swung
yes.
by and we could have grabbed a cappuccino or something.
So that was amazingly fun. And then I took the train back Thursday night, which was not amazingly fun because the train was delayed a couple of hours. And it got in more or less on time. So I'm glad that it got in on time, more or less. I'm not glad that it meant that I lost about 2 hours of sleep that I was counting on. But other than that, I had a damn good week. You know, getting stuff done, working on stuff for the book, talking to a lot. You know, it's great. It's talking to a lot of Glass developers and seeing how excited they are about developing for the platform, and seeing some of the great ideas that they have, and helping them get that aha moment when they really understand why Glass is different. So that's been fun. And I always enjoy doing it. I always enjoy working with Jenny when she comes out to this coast. And I really enjoyed the gang down in D.C. I know some of you are watching, whether you're watching to the end of the show or not, I don't know. But it's always great to work with you, and I look forward to my next return down there.
And if somebody's interested in getting your book, tell us the title of the book and where they can buy it. And I am a consumer. I bought the book.
The book is Designing and Developing for Google Glass. You can get it from O'Reilly.com.
And my last question for you, Alan, is when I've looked at Amtrak, I've found that comparing the cost of driving versus the train, it's pretty comparable for like what you spend on gas versus the train if you're one passenger. But if you're 2 or 3 people going, it's much cheaper to drive. Do you find that, or what's your experience with Amtrak Are you a big Joe Biden advocate type guy, or what do you think?
Of the three major forms of transportation currently available to us in this country, that being air travel, road travel, and rail travel, the least civilized form of travel of all of them is air. There is absolutely nothing civilized at all about air travel. Followed relatively closely by auto travel. Auto travel, we have the appearance of freedom of travel and so forth. The reality is not nearly so nice. Thursday morning, I woke up at a reasonable time. I went over to the nearby Amtrak station. I boarded a train, and I proceeded to recline in my leather chair and relax for the next 6 hours as I cruised down to DC. I had my phone, I had my laptop, I was doing work, I had Wi-Fi. So it was almost as if I was sitting at my desk for 6 hours. When I needed to go to the bathroom, I got up and went to the bathroom.
So you had fast enough Wi-Fi to do work?
Oh yeah. I have better Wi-Fi than I have here in this hotel room. It doesn't allow streaming, but it's extremely good Wi-Fi connection.
Can you elaborate briefly on when you say flying? I've been on, I don't know, probably hundreds of flights, but not in the last years. When I was growing up, I lived, as you know, in I don't know, more countries than I can name, all over the
Let's
world.
put it this way, Dan.
But what broke the flight system? What's the reason why it sucks now and it used to be awesome?
They're taking they're taking their cues from Comcast. They're very similar practices between the two. No, seriously, they're trying to cram as many people onto a flight as possible. Give you as few amenities as possible. I mean, they'd take away your bathroom if they thought they could get away with it, and just give you a catheter and add 10 extra seats. If they thought they could get away with it, they would. The airlines are, to be honest, they're in a crunch for money. There's not a lot of profit left to be made in air travel.
Was 9/11 the big change? I mean, because like the
9/11 made it worse, but it was already well on its way downhill. 9/11 just added further insult to injury.
It's a shame because when I was growing up, it was always a pleasure to fly. And I was a little kid, and 747 was this massive thing when you're 3 feet tall, right? And
it's a massive thing when you're 6 feet tall too.
Yeah, it's cool, and it's a shame that it's now a shame. It's sad because it used to be such an awesome way to travel, and now with the having to get a cavity search and then
like I said, the TSA
it's
just
ridiculous.
added insult to injury. The airlines were already rapidly on decline before then. They needed to make money, and air travel is not a money-making prospect. At least not significantly so.
We need that damn Hyperloop, and I haven't heard anything about it. Hopefully it'll
Dan,
happen.
engineering takes time.
I want it yesterday. I want you to just poop it out there.
Well, tell you what, Dan, get to work on that time machine, and as soon as you're finished with it, you too can build a time machine yesterday. Think about that one. But meanwhile, I'll point out that we have this show every Friday night, sometime between 8:30 and sometime later than that Eastern.
Depending on when Kadesh shows
sometime
up.
later than that Western.
And Pam gets
Now why
unbanned.
does it gotta be on me now? Come on.
it's all Pam and Cadeas's fault, basically.
And early in the week, usually on Monday nights, but I would even say somewhat frequently on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, we have our Android Week. Both of these shows are gonna start getting very exciting soon because we've got IO. We're launching into June. IO is coming up at the end of June, so you can expect us to be talking more and more about IO, and hopefully we'll have some very interesting shows leading up to it.
Hopefully some live on the scene shows. We want to thank you all very much for watching. As Alan said, we have 2 programs. Our Android Week is normally a Monday, but this week it'll probably be Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And Google Plus Week is the longest running show by every measure. And that's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. We thank you all very much for watching. And thank you for commenting. And once again, if you want a notification when I post this show, plus mention me, Dan McDermott, in your comments, and I will add you to a circle. And every time we go live, I always post it early, and you'll get a notification in your stream that we've gone live. So thank you very much, and to all of you, have a wonderful Memorial Day to the veterans, to the sons and daughters of veterans. Thank you so much for your service to our country.
Oh,
and we will see you.
Dan. It's the wrong holiday.
What do you mean?
He sure did say Veterans Day, didn't he?
No,
Did I say Veterans Day or Memorial Day?
you said Memorial Day, and then you went to talk about the veterans. Okay, and don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm a veteran. Veterans are very, very close and near and dear to my heart, but this isn't their holiday. This is Memorial Day. This is the day that we commemorate our fallen. So let's think about the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice to our country and thank them for their sacrifice. And with that, Dan.
Have a wonderful Google Plus week.
Thank you, Cadeas.